Hello, welcome back. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. Today, we're starting a Clash of Kings, and I'm super excited. Guys, just a heads up, we are going to read this one on my Kindle for multiple reasons. One, I'm a much faster reader on the Kindle. I don't know why. I think I get less distracted when I'm on the Kindle. So I'm hoping to kind of get through this book a little faster than last book, but at the same time, when it comes to editing and everything, it'll probably be around a month and a half. But at the same time, on top of that, I kind of really kind of messed up that book a little bit, and I just was really bummed about it. And it's not like messed up, but it is a little like used and worn. And I was like, you know what? These are so beautiful. I really don't want to be messing with them. So I'm going to be reading this on my Kindle going forward, but of course I will put the chapters up top again. And I just wanted to give y'all a heads up. So I'm really excited to be getting into this book though, because y'all are telling me in the comments that as we get further into the books, the less and less it's like the show, the more stuff got left out. So it's going to be really exciting to see, because even in the first book, it was pretty similar to the show, but at the same time, there was a lot that was different, and there was a lot more characters, and there was a lot more context in scenes, and I really loved it. So I'm really excited to get into this next book. I am super excited. Y'all are saying it's really good, and from here out it's amazing. So I'm really excited, and based off of where we left off last book, I'm really eager for Sansa and Dany chapters, because I definitely felt like Sansa's chapters got really dark. Her tone shift in her chapters were so good. And I don't know why, but I love chapters and characters that are dark. And so I'm really excited for that. And then I'm also really excited for Dany, because we just had her whole awakening, I'm going to call it. And so she just had her whole awakening. The draggies are here, and I'm really excited to see what Dany's mindset is like now that she has dragons, now that that whole thing happened. I was definitely getting a vibe from Dany that she was very kind of cocky, very a little manic. So I'm wondering if that's going to follow her forward, or if that was kind of just for that moment. But I'm really eager to see what the story looks like from here. But like and subscribe, feel up to it, besties, and let's read our book. Okay, we're on to the prologue. Oh, there's a comet in the sky. I forgot about that. That's crazy. Dragonstone is so in detail. He's talking about the gargoyles that rose 12 feet tall. That's insane. One was a hellhound and one was a wyvern. So many mythological creatures. I love it. Okay, we're reading Maester Crescent right now. He definitely sees the comet as an omen. Ooh, summer has ended already. That's crazy. So Maester Crescent is look at all these omens, there's so much going on. I don't believe in omens, but there's just too many right now that it's too convenient. And then he's saying that his head is filled with drivel. It's bro, there's omens, you're good. Pylos is his replacement. Patches? I'm assuming he's talking to Shireen right now. Patches, the fool? Shireen has a fool? Poor Shireen. Her grayscale on her face is so sad. Aww. Maester Crescent said she would be 10 on her next name day, and she was the saddest child that Maester Crescent had ever known. Oh, and he blames himself for that. That's so sad. Yikes. Maester Crescent doesn't like Dragonstone. He said that never really feels like home. And I feel like that's mostly because it's a Targaryen place. But at the same time, he's dreaming of the Red Woman. Yikes. So Dragonstone is kind of really taking it out of everybody. Everybody's kind of really not happy here. Shireen had dreams about dragons coming to eat her. Interesting. I feel like that's a foreshadow for Shireen's future. T. It was the Valyrians who raised the citadel? That's so cool. So the Valyrians make their fortresses in the shape of dragons to make them more scary. And then they put all of these like super big gargoyles out to like intimidate people. Melisandre told Shireen that that's a dragon omen, the comet. Dang, they just ended their 10-year summer. Shireen is like me. She said, "It talks?" Same, Shireen. I had no idea. It's interesting. I feel like this fool is, I don't know what else to call him. The fool is added in. And he says like all this random stuff, but I feel like this stuff that he's saying is very important. And right now he's talking about how the shadows have come to dance and the shadows have come to stay. And I definitely think he's talking about Melisandre right now. So that's how Robert and Stannis and Renly's dad died. It was in like a shipwreck. That's crazy. Interesting. Patchface was in this group and he was dead and then like woke back up when they found him, but I definitely think he was dead. Something happened there. That's why he's always talking about the sea and mermaids and stuff. There's a rumor that a mermaid taught him how to breathe water. That's cool. I fully believe that. He has Volantis tattoos all over his face. Davos! Davos has been mentioned! That's interesting. Very, very few people visit Dragonstone, and if they do, they don't leave after that. Like, they stay in Dragonstone. He's keeping everything, like, under lock and key. We have Davos. I'm so excited. I've been wanting, like, more Stannis in the book, so the fact that we're opening the prologue with, like, Stannis, Davos, the Maester, it's really fun. Interesting. So they went out to go try to get people on their side. He tried to find Beric Dondarrion and couldn't find him. Interesting. Renly has made his own Kingsguard and he named them the Rainbow Guard, and they each have different colors as their cloaks. That's cool. I just read the story about like Davos's hand and him smuggling food, and it's so sweet. Like Davos is so loyal. It's crazy. That's so cool. They have the map table in the book. He's saying that that table has been around since Aegon Targaryen, like the first one. Stannis is just as serious in the book. I love it. It's interesting. Are the Stormlands still ruled by Baratheons? Because he's saying that the Stormlands won't rise for Stannis, but it's only because they don't like him. But if they're Baratheons, then that's kind of crazy. Oh, I forgot. Renly got Storm's End and not Stannis. So they've already sworn for Renly. So Stannis is definitely salty about Storm's End. You know, now that I think about it, Renly trying to be king is crazy. Like, when I was first watching the show, I was like, I really like Renly. Like, I love his vibe. But, like, as I'm, like, in the world of Westeros now and I'm, like, more familiar with it, Renly, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to be king right now? It's crazy. Stannis said, why did the gods inflict me with brothers? Damn, Stannis is kind of mean. He, like, threatened to cut off Davos's tongue. He's, like, saying all these crazy things to the Maester. He's, like, calling him old and everything. Stannis, chill. Stannis said he's having dinner with his bannermen and he's listing them. What do you mean, Velaryon? What? The Velaryons are still around? Damn. Maester Crescent is like, okay, well, here's what you gotta work with. Like, you have the Lannisters to worry about. Stannis is just crashing out. I mean, rightfully so. He doesn't really have anything. But then he's like, okay, well, what about Robb? Like, you know, Ned Stark just got murdered, like you could help avenge that. And Stannis says, why should I avenge Eddard Stark? The man was nothing to me. Stannis! Ned had so much respect for Stannis, you could like see it coming off of the pages in Ned's chapters. I guess that's a good point. Ned was kind of more of a brother to Robert than Stannis ever was, even though Stannis was a brother to him and was loyal to him. So I guess there's like some jealousy there. That would make sense. Oh, that's crazy. After the siege where they almost like starved to death, Robert thanked Ned instead of thanking Stannis. Damn. Aw, honestly, this jealousy is really valid. He's done so much for Robert, and every single turn he went straight to Ned. Even like the Hand of the King role. Stannis would have been a good Hand of the King. Aw, the Maester wants Stannis to send Shireen to the Eyrie. They're crazy out there, so don't do that, but that's a sweet gesture. Ooh, Selyse is here. Interesting. Selyse is like promoting Stannis to kind of like raise his ego a little bit more. Like, you don't need them. They should be bowing to you. And then she said God instead of gods. So the Lord of Light is already very big in Stannis' world. That's crazy. He did his duty in the marriage bed once or twice a year, but took no joy in it. Stannis, you're too serious, my guy. House Florent, is that what Selyse is from? I wonder, I know we didn't get this in the show, but I wonder what Stannis' perspective on Dany would be. Because he's always about, you know, like the order of things and doing things right, and like, you know, he's very serious and he follows the structure. So if Dany were to come across to Westeros, would Stannis like drop his claim and be like, it's rightfully yours? Or would they beef? That's my big question. Also, if that gets answered for me, don't tell me. Dang, so Renly is honestly moving really smart. So he has Dragonstone and Highgarden right now. And so his marriage to Marjorie was actually very calculated because he got all of those swords. Selyse is the one who came up with the idea that Renly should die. Fratricide, I know what that is. Dang, that sucks. So Maester Crescent is really trying hard to counsel Stannis, but because he's so backed into a corner, he's so upset, he's so kind of like just in a really bad spot, he's not hearing any of it. Aw, he basically raised the Baratheon brothers. He said had he done so ill that now he must watch one kill the other. He's so hard on himself. I like how he calls the hellhound and the wyvern his, and he talks to them. Ooh, is he gonna try to poison Melisandre? He's looking through his crystals right now. Interesting. So if you have a healing chain, you also know how to kill. You know how to make poison, which just makes me so much more wary of... Oh, what's that dude's name? I'm blanking on his name right now. I'm gonna put a picture of him right here. Y'all know who I'm talking about. The Strangler. Stannis is definitely kind of like blocking the Maester out. Oh, that's so cool. Poisoners of Lys will wear hollow rings with like the crystals inside of them. Ugh. Melisandre helped sit him up after he got knocked over? Melisandre's eyes are red? That's terrifying. The night is dark and full of terrors. Oh no. That's so fun that Velaryons are here. That's so sad. Stannis is kicking him to the curb. Damn, that's crazy. This whole table has turned into Lord of Light advocators. Like anything he says, they're like, Lord of Light, Lord of Light. That would be so frustrating. Also, Solis is way more like, she's more present in the story, and she's a B word so far. Like the way they talk to Maester Crescent makes me so upset, especially knowing, like, hearing him like reflect on all the time he's spent with the Baratheon boys and then seeing like how he's being treated. It makes me so sad for him. I definitely think Melisandre knew, like, the minute he walked in, he was there to poison her, because she's like had him wear the helmet twice now, and she like keeps calling him a fool. She definitely already knows. Ugh, her skin is hot. Damn, she said it's not too late to spill the wine, Maester. Oh, that sucks. It's crazy seeing how much more context there was in that scene, because we opened season 2 with him just like randomly trying to poison her. But seeing kind of like the relationship he had with Stannis and with the brothers, and then seeing just how much of an influence Melisandre and the Lord of Light is already having. Stannis is already in this like corner of Lord of Light, and he doesn't want to hear it from anybody else, and they're kind of like stroking his ego on top of that, which is making it worse. Because now he's like, he doesn't want to bow, he doesn't want to beg, he doesn't want to do anything. Like, he wants everything to kind of come to him, which unfortunately doesn't work when everybody's trying to be a king. So him trying to poison Melisandre makes so much more sense now. It's like, okay, yeah, that's actually really valid that he tried to do that, because she's clearly kind of like changing the dynamic of Stannis in Stannis's world right now. Yikes. That was a long prologue, but that was really good. Okay, y'all, we're on to Arya. Arya's nickname is Lumpy Head. Yoren snuck Arya out. There's 3 in a wagon. Is one of them Jaqen? One of them had no nose. Aw, so Lami and Hot Pie are mean to her. Aw, Hot Pie is called Hot Pie because his mom was a baker and he would say hot pies in the streets trying to sell them. But then his mom died. That's sad. Arya doesn't want to talk about the boy that she killed because she thinks it'll get her in trouble. Gendry! Gendry's nickname is the Bull. That's cool. Arya just knocked Hot Pie off his horse, off his donkey. Damn, Arya. Then she hit him across the face. She's gotten to be such a good little fighter. It's crazy. She's like dodging all these hits. Arya's cooking. Ooh. Arya's getting like beat right now. Arya said, I won't cry. Our sigil's the direwolves. Direwolves don't cry. She could feel blood trickling down her left leg. Oh, interesting. So Yoren stayed back because he was told that Ned was going to take the black and he was going to take Ned to the wall. But then obviously that didn't work out. They're talking about the comet right now, and she said that the comet reminds her of ice with Ned's blood on it. That's crazy. Poor Arya. Arya's got it rough. Like, she's surrounded by so many bad people right now. On top of that, she's surrounded by people who are like picking at her, poking at her, trying to get a reaction out of her. And then apparently physical punishment is a thing on our way to the wall. So we have to worry about that now too, which is insane. But it seems like Gendry's in the mix now, so I'm happy that Gendry's in the mix now. But we'll see what happens with poor Arya. But she's definitely like down bad already. Okay, y'all. Today's my editing day, so don't mind the attire. We're on to Sansa! It's Joffrey's birthday. Yuck. No way, they think the comet is for Joffrey? Very interesting because Sansa's like, well, isn't Joffrey half Baratheon, so wouldn't it be gold? But technically he is like full Lannister, so it would make sense for it to be crimson, but that's just that's so selfish thinking. It's, oh, it's for Joffrey. Aw, Sansa has bruises on her arms. That's crazy. When Robb got proclaimed king in the north, Sir Boros came and beat her. Poor Sansa. Aww. So Sir Aerys is kind of nice. She's talking about all the guards and like which ones hit her and how they hit her. And she's saying that the Hound, she said, the others obeyed without question except for the Hound. But Joff never asked the Hound to punish her. Interesting. Ooh, that's interesting. Sansa feels a little more safer when Cersei's there because Joffrey's not as like brutal to her. Tywin didn't come to King's Landing. He went to Harrenhal. Now everybody's pissed. That's crazy. Lady, I don't know how to say this name, Emersand, literal baby, is potentially going to be wed to one of the Queen's cousins so the Lannisters can take her land. She's a baby. That's insane. Joffrey says one thing to her and she knows like what type of mood he's in already. Like she's already learning how to like clock what mood he's in or what like role he's gonna play. Joffrey's learned about Viserys. Interesting, so the red wines are also kind of like stuck in court right now. That's not good. Damn, Sansa. She's hoping death on people. Janos Slynt was the one who like picked up Ned's head after his head got cut off and like showed it to the crowd. Yuck. Sansa was hoping for Moros to die, and then he almost did in this tournament. She was like, did the gods answer my prayer? Weird. I have like this weird mindset that the gods are like not good. Like they're kind of dark. They like bad things happening and they influence a lot of bad things happening. So like if the gods are real, which I'm assuming they are since we talk about them so much, I definitely think the gods are like not our friends type of thing. I love how Joffrey's like talking shit on all these people while he's sitting in safety. Yikes. Joffrey, we're talking about Sir Dantos right now and how he's kind of just like a mess and everybody's laughing at him and Joffrey has this look in his eyes. And Sansa said it's the same look that he had at the Sept of Baelor with Ned. That's crazy. Ooh, this is different. Sir Dantos just kind of like gave up. He said, I lose, fetch me some wine. Yeah, that's obviously gonna piss off Joffrey when it's Joffrey. Ugh. Joffrey said I ought to drown you with him if you care for him so much. Oh, I love that the Hound backed her up. She totally made up the like, oh, if you kill a man on your birthday, it's bad luck. The Hound backed her up. W the Hound. That's so crazy. Tommen is jousting right now, and he has like full armor on for an 8-year-old. Aww. He got knocked off. Poor Tommen. Joffrey's like laughing at Tommen. Tommen could have been injured and then he like immediately gets back up. Sansa thinks if only Tommen were the elder instead of Joffrey, I wouldn't mind marrying Tommen. That's so sad. Tyrion's here. Aw, Tyrion loves Tommen and Marcella. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. Tyrion said, I'm sorry for your loss, Joffrey. He said, what loss? Tyrion was like, your father? That's insane. Tyrion's crazy. He said all sorts of people calling themselves kings these days. Yeah, I think Tyrion, the Hound just warned him to like guard his tongue because it's Joffrey, but I think Tyrion doesn't know how like unhinged Joffrey is being. Maybe he does know, but I think Joffrey's definitely on his high horse right now, and Tyrion is about to see that. Tyrion's talking to Sansa. He said, as loyal as a deer surrounded by wolves. And then she said, lions. Aww. Tyrion came in and immediately was like so sweet to Sansa. She doesn't trust him at all. That's crazy. Smart, but sad. Oh, poor Sansa. It's crazy being in Sansa's head during these scenes because it's like, obviously we saw, parts of this from the show, but at this point, we're only a couple chapters into the book and it feels so different from the show already. And getting to be inside Sansa's head and just seeing like how calculated she's becoming and how smart she's becoming, like she knows when to say something, when not to say something, what to say. She knows how to read Joffrey's moods and the looks on his face. It's very interesting. And then Tyrion comes in and is actually like genuinely very sweet to her, but then she's like, Cersei was sweet to me, Joffrey was sweet to me, like I can't trust anybody. So she knows at this point like nothing is safe. It's crazy to read about. On to Tyrion. Tyrion said, Cersei could smell weakness the way a dog could smell fear. I love that. Tyrion looked at Littlefinger and immediately thought of the dagger. That's insane. The Hand of the King role has this kind of like notion of bad luck, basically. Like Tyrion was just talking about all the Hand of the Kings that basically just died. And the only one who kind of got away unscathed was Tywin. Everybody else has been cooked. One of them, literally. That's so interesting knowing like where Tyrion's story goes in the show, at least. It might be like the Hand of the King curse. Tyrion and Cersei's conversation is very similar to Sansa's last chapter, where he's like tiptoeing around certain areas, like he knows where he can test things and where he can't, and it's very similar to what Sansa is learning at the same time. Seems like it's like a Lannister thing, like they have certain things that you have to like tiptoe around. Joffrey really is kind of just playing everything by the beat of his own drum, like he can't be told what to do. That's a mess. Ooh, even the High Septon is mad at them because they killed Ned on the Sept of Baelor. Damn. If Sansa hadn't come to Cersei and told her all the plans, Ned might have succeeded. Yikes. So Littlefinger suggested that Janos Slynt take Harrenhal. Varys suggested that they denounce Ser Barristan. Why? I just feel like that's very like random from those two. Like I think Littlefinger, yeah, because like that obviously sows chaos, but Varys, that's interesting. Unless he's like, he wants the Lannisters to fail. Damn. Tyrion thinks that Ser Barristan will either go to Robb or Stannis. That would be really fun if he did. It's also just like the image of Ser Barristan, like he's so well respected throughout the whole realm, so it's such a big deal. Tyrion sighed. She had missed the point, as she did so often. Cersei's like kind of accepted Tyrion at this point. She's like, as long as you're serving me, we're good. She slapped Tyrion. Damn, Tyrion, chill. Now that he's in, Tyrion's kind of just saying whatever he wants. He's talking about her and Jaime and she just keeps slapping him. Oh no. So Cersei did have a big hand in killing Robert, which we kind of knew, but I was always kind of confused about it because I was like, well, how do you force someone to get drunk? Like he's drinking, he's getting himself drunk, like that sucks, but like whatever. But we find out in the book that Cersei had Lancel put like very, very strong wine in there. Like 3 times as potent as what he's used to. So when he was drinking that, he was getting like way more drunk than he thought he would. That's crazy. Tyrion said, truly, sister, you were born to be a widow. It's very interesting, that whole talk between Cersei and Tyrion. Cersei just keeps reminding Tyrion over and over again that he's serving her, not like serving the realm. And he's talking right now to Bronn about talking to the Lannister guards and reminding them that they serve Casterly Rock, not Cersei and Joffrey. And you definitely see like Cersei starting to make this like divide in court of like, you serve me, not like the realm. It's very manipulative. It also makes it very easy for, you know, Cersei to call the shots and nobody else to kind of manipulate that scenario. So it is kind of smart. Aw, Tyrion ordered that the heads be taken down. The streets are not good right now. They're like a hot mess, and they're also running out of food, it seems like. They're gonna have, you know, like an uprising at their back door. Hightower core. Damn. So in preparation of this, Cersei is basically fortifying the Red Keep. Instead of like trying to get more food in, trying to help in the streets, she's fortifying the Red Keep. And then she's having the Alchemist Guild make 10,000 jars of wildfire. Insane. Littlefinger has imposed a tax on those wishing to enter the city. But the city is a mess. There's no food. There's nothing. Tyrion said clever and cruel. Aw, tens of thousands of like families are fleeing to King's Landing because of all these wars happening. They think they're going to be safe in King's Landing. And so then they're getting charged once they enter, not knowing that there's no food and the city is a mess. That's so effed up. Interesting. So Tyrion has Shay at like an inn right now, and Varys is there. Tyrion said, I'm terrified of my enemies, so I kill them all. Damn. Varys knew that they were there the minute they passed through the gates. That's so fun. Varys will say something to Shay, and like Tyrion interprets it in his head, like knowing what Varys meant by that. Varys said that the comet is to warn of fire and blood to follow. Dany. Varys left him with the riddle of a great man, a king, and a priest, and a rich man with his gold. And he never answered it, but I definitely feel like that's like a huge foil to the realm right now, where it's like you have all these different people in control of all these different things. You have Cersei, you have Joffrey, you have Tywin, and they are all like divided right now. So like, who wins that? Interesting. So Tyrion brought Shay to King's Landing, but he's not taking her to the Red Keep. He said bringing her to the city was as much defiance as he dared. And then he's having her stay outside of the Red Keep. I feel like that's a little more fair. Weird. Shay is really trying to push her way into the Tower of the Hand. Like, she's trying to get Tyrion to let her go. Tyrion's catching feelings, and he's like, you're a fool. And he's like, do you remember Tysha? That's so sad. That was a really good chapter. It's really fun seeing Tyrion kind of like manipulate Cersei and work his way around certain things. Also, like, him interpreting what Varys meant by certain things is so fun, because we always know like him and Varys have these very extensive conversations or very like deep conversations, but seeing him like interpret what Varys means by that is so cool. And then on top of that, him having Shay outside of the Red Keep, I feel like is really important, but it also like raises so many red flags with me that Shay is like really trying to push her way into the Red Keep. Like, she's really trying to convince him to let her in. And that makes me like not trust her at all. Like, I feel like she's a lot more sus in the book. But that's going to be really interesting to see where that goes, because we can see Tyrion like catching feelings and he's like trying not to, but I definitely think Shay is a lot more like detached from this relationship than what it looks like in the show. So that's going to be really cool to see. Hey y'all, we're on to Bran. Aw, Bran still likes to look out the windows. He's such a like free spirit. Interesting. Of late he often dreamed of wolves. They are talking to me brother to brother. That's so cool. He could almost understand them, almost as if they were singing in a language he had once known and somehow forgotten. language that the children of the forest use, potentially. Summer is like grief and longing, and Shaggy Dog is savage. And those are direct foils to the boys. Everybody's like, oh, they just want to be free. Maester Lewin thinks they're howling at the comet. Everybody has like their own theories as to why they're crying so much. And I think Bran mentioned that he thinks it's because they might potentially miss their siblings. But Osha said, they know truths that the gray man has forgotten. Crazy. Bran asked Old Nan about the comet. She immediately said dragons. Then Bran said she was near blind, yet she could smell it. Then she said, it's dragons, boy. Bran's calling their howls like mourning cries. And he's like, who are they mourning? Because they had mourned for Bran, they mourned for Ned. So who are they mourning now? Bran is howling. Bran said, when I sleep, I turn into a wolf. Then Bran said, do dead men dream? Damn, he's saying that a weirwood calls to him in his dreams. So they play Lord of the Crossing, and if you say mayhaps, then it's like fingers crossed, like you don't have to hold to it. Aww. The Frey boys are sleeping in Jon's old room, and Bran hates that. Poor Bran. So whenever they play like Lord of the Crossing, he can't play with them. Yikes. Then Rickon went to go play, and his dog attacked. Or his wolf attacked, sorry. I don't know why I just called him a dog. After that, Rickon decided he liked the Walders. Ooh. Rickon showed them their father's tomb. That's so fun. Everybody kind of like brushes Bran off and is like, Bran, you're tripping. You need to hang out with more kids. And Osha is the only one that's like, maybe the gods are trying to talk back to you. I love that she's like a figure in his life right now. The comet is in his dreams too. We're in Bran's wolf right now, and Bran's wolf is talking about Rickon's wolf. And he's saying that tireless searching for prey for a way out for his mother, his littermates, his pack, searching, and never finding. I feel like that's Rickon to a T. Especially after like Cat dies. It's gonna be really interesting. I'm so eager to see what Rickon's story is in the book. Oh, that's crazy. So Bran is really like, he's getting a lot more dreams and a lot more of a calling to his wolf. And that's like really illuminated in his chapters so far. And he's like, he feels like there's this sense to them that only he can understand. And it seems like everybody he's talking to is kind of like shooting him down, but he's trying to navigate it and figure it out. But he's such a little young kiddo that it's like, that would be very hard to navigate and figure out. So luckily Osha is there, and I'm really excited to get more from Osha, because everything Osha says to him is like so fascinating. And she's like, I see you're talking to the weirwood, and like the gods might be trying to talk back to you. And I feel like Osha has a lot of knowledge from where she was raised. So I think she's going to be really cool in Bran's life. That's crazy. So they're still traveling, but they're traveling on the King's Road, and they're just seeing like a bunch of families. It's wild. Everybody's going south, and Arya wondered why like nobody was going north with them. I love how Sirio's sayings just like stay on repeat in her head. Like she's like noticing all these people, and she has Sirio in her head saying, look with your eyes, listen with your ears. Oh, that's so sad. There's like graves on the side of the road for the kids that didn't make it. Lami wanted to take the crystal from the grave. Lami, after she saw the first one, she said hardly a day passed without seeing one. Interesting. Arya said somehow it felt as though the world were holding its breath. The silence made her shiver. Oh, that's cute. You can toss like a handful of acorns onto like a grave and then maybe hope that like an oak will mark the spot. Poor Arya. She said it made her sad to think of Sansa and her father. So a lot of the Northland is getting burned because of like all this conflict that's going on. Ooh, Arya just learned about Robb. Somebody said it's been a bad year for wolves, and there's like packs around the God's Eye, and they've gotten bolder. That's interesting. Maybe that's where Nymeria goes. Also, I definitely feel like this is gonna come back into the story. They're like talking about, the woman is saying there's a great pack, hundreds of them, man killers. The one that leads them is a she-wolf, a bitch from the seventh hell, which I feel like is already Nymeria, but at the same time, like, I feel like that little group of wolves could come into play. Oh, even Arya thinks it's Nymeria. Oh, poor Arya. She's thinking of Nymeria. She said she probably wouldn't even know me now, or if she did, she would hate me. Jaqen's talking to her. Nah, that's crazy. She's talking to Jaqen, right? And she said something about the way he talked reminded her of Syrio. That man is Syrio. That's so cute. This whole scene with the guys in the cage. I think it's really interesting being inside her head for this because she's like kind of nervous of them, rightfully so, but she's like, what would Syrio do? What would Syrio do? And it's so fun seeing her perspective like that. She hit him pretty good. Now Arya and Gendry are gonna fight? I love it. Uh-oh, the gold cloaks are here. Damn. So Gendry didn't just randomly hide, she had Gendry hide with her because she's like panicked. Arya's already getting so bold. The gold cloaks are like, we want that guy, and Arya was like, if she was a true, what does she call herself? If she was a true water dancer, she would just go out there and kill them all. Arya, chill. The guy coming out of the bathhouse asking if it's a fight. I'm dead. Ooh. Arya went out there and she was like ready to fight them, and then she said, I'm the one you want, and then they said, he's the one we want, and they pointed at Gendry. That's crazy. So they already knew who they were going for. Also, Arya, don't do that. Damn. So Yoren wants them, he said if they come back, he wants Arya and Gendry to like book it to the wall. That was so good. That was like a lot more in detailed, and I really liked that because we kind of get to see they stop at an inn, we get some context on like these wolves by the God's Eye, and then on top of that they already know who they're looking for, which is so different from the show because the show, it was like this big secret. And in the book, I'm wondering how that's gonna play out because not only did Arya like give herself up, but at the same time, like they already know who they're looking for. So then it creates this like whole mess of like, what are they gonna do if they come back? Because they already know who Gendry is. So unless they escape out of that situation, I don't see what's gonna happen with that. So maybe Gendry will escape. I don't know. But I think that was a really good chapter. Hey, we are on to Jon. I love that Sam is in the library. Damn. Jon said they haven't seen Sam in a minute because he's just chilling in the library, and Rast was like, oh, maybe he deserted. And then Jon said, desertion required its own sort of courage, and Sam had little enough of that. That's crazy. Sam found like a little book, and he said, this is the account of a journey from the Shadow Tower all the way to Lorne Point on the frozen shore, written by a ranger named Redwine. And they found giants and children of the forest. I feel like that is such an like thrown in comment, but I feel like that's important. Like maybe that's the journey that Benjen Stark is taking right now. Ooh, they leave tomorrow. That's so fun. John just sees it as like a collection of like information, and Sam is like, this is history. That's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. Sam is finding such cool stuff. He said, a book about the tongue of the children of the forest. So what language do they speak? Then he also said he found scrolls from old Valyria and counts of the seasons written by the maesters that have been dead for thousands of years. Sam's nervous to go out beyond the wall. And John was like, you'll be fine. There's plenty of people. Like, you'll be as safe as if you're in your father's castle. And Sam said he was never safe in his father's castle. And then John thought, the gods play cruel jests. I agree, John. Speaking of the gods, I was talking to one of my mods about this, and I have this like theory going on that I feel like the old gods and the gods of the seven, mind you, I'm only like one book in, right? I've only finished one book, so this opinion might change, but I feel like right now the seven and the old gods might be the same, and we just have them mixed up. Or there is the theory that the Lord of Light and the seven are the same. There's some type of tie-in between these gods. So I have that theory going right now. I also think the gods are not kind, and I think whatever they're plotting and they're planning, it's for their own motives, and they're not good. You know, like I think the gods don't have good intentions with our people. So I think that's interesting. And then I also think the gods are already a very big influence in the story, like a lot bigger than in Game of Thrones, the show. So I feel like the gods themselves could potentially be on Westeros, potentially, and like making things happen. And the only reason I think that is because it leads me to Syrio, and we've been getting a lot of Arya chapters. And I was like, you know, what if Syrio himself is the god of death? And then it just like spiraled, you know? So I do think the gods are very heavy influence, and I think they're heavy influence in pretty much all of our characters. So that makes me think, like, is there any gods like walking amongst them? Like, what are these gods? And so then that leads me into the spiral. Then we have Syrio and Jaqen, which y'all know, I mentioned the theory when I was watching Game of Thrones that I was like, you know, what if Jaqen is Syrio? And like somebody had brought that theory up to me, which I think is a cool theory. And when I was watching the show, I didn't really put much stock to it because I was like, you know, like the odds of that are really slim. But as I'm reading this book, I feel like I'm fully on that theory train where I do think Jaqen is Syrio because we never saw Syrio die. And on top of that, the author wrote it in such a like nudge way where it just felt like that was written in on purpose, you know? So when Arya is making comments that Jaqen talks like Syrio, it just makes me think like, why would an author write that in if that wasn't a hint? You know what I mean? So I do think Syrio and Jaqen have a tie-in together, and I do think they're the same person. And I think Syrio was able to win that fight when Arya was running away, put on a new face, and that's how he escaped King's Landing, was where Jaqen is now. That's how he got out of that situation. So my big question is like, why Arya? And why are we so set on Arya? And so then that leads me to like, what if this is the god of death and his mission is Arya? I don't know. I do think the gods have a very big influence though, and I do think Syrio is Jaqen. I do. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see, and I'm like definitely keeping an eye on like comments about the gods now because I just feel like they're going to play a really big role, and I feel like it's going to be a lot bigger role than what the show made it out to be. So I think that'll be interesting. Oh, so the entire reason why Sam is going out here is for the ravens. Because I had always wondered, like, why are we taking Sam with us? You know, like, Sam's not a fighter, Sam's not that type of guy, but he's going out for the ravens. That makes sense. John said, there's no shame in fear, my father told me. What matters is how we face it. Period. Oh, that's cool. They have like underground passages. That's super cool. The wall like changes colors with the light. So if it's like cloudy that day, then the wall is gray. If it's sunny, then the wall can be blue. So Molestown is much bigger at the wall in the book than it is in the show. Like in the show, it's like, oh, some men sneak off to Molestown. In the book, it's like very common. Like Pip, Gren, Halder, they're all at Molestown right now, hooking up with women. Interesting. So with these new recruits, they came with news about Robb. So that's how Jon is able to find out, like, Robb, King in the North, everything that's going on. Donald Noy is talking about his time, like, working with the Baratheons. And he's talking about, like, when Robert put the crown on, he changed. And he said, some men are like swords made for fighting. Hang them up and they go to rust. Damn. Yikes. He said, Stannis is pure iron. Brittle the way iron gets, he'll break before he bends. AKA, Stannis is never getting that throne. Renly said he's pretty, but not worth all that much. Interesting. So it's kind of like taboo to talk about who your ruler is at the moment, what your religion is, because it's kind of just like too political and they don't deal with politics at the wall. So they just kind of like don't really talk about it. That's interesting. Sam's father is pretty high up in Renly's council right now. So because Jon's hand is injured, he's not as adept at his sword work as normal. So whatever happens out beyond the wall, Jon's not at like peak fighting ability. We're talking about Maester Aemon right now, and he's saying his father's father was Daeron Targaryen, the second of his name, who brought Dorne into the realm. And if I remember correctly, that's the one that Jon looked up to. When we had our first like Jon chapter, he mentioned Daeron Targaryen? I think I'm saying that right. This is so confusing. So we have Maekar, who is Aemon's father, who is Daeron I's son, and then he's now king, and then he calls all of his children to court, and Aemon's like, no, I'm not going to court because I'm serving Daeron II as a maester, right? Because he said instead he served at the keep of his eldest brother, another Daeron. Aerion the Monstrous, the prince who thought he was a dragon. Is that the one that drank wildfire? There's somebody who drank wildfire, right? Aeron, Bright Flame. These names are confusing. Interesting. So after King Maekar died, they offered the crown to Aemon first, and then he said no. So then it went to Aegon, another Aegon. This is so confusing. So Prince Daeron had a daughter, and then because Prince Daeron had a daughter, it didn't go to her because she was a female. So then it went to Aemon's younger brother, Aegon, fifth of his name. Aegon the Unlikely. And then Aemon went to the wall because he was worried that people would try to manipulate him. Aemon went to the wall because he was worried that people would try to manipulate him to hurt Aegon. That's a good brother. That is so confusing. There is so much. I need it like laid out for me in like a little family tree. That's crazy. And here he has remained while his brother and his brother's son and his son each reigned and died in turn. Weird. The Raven keeps saying king over and over again to Jon and Mormont, and Jon's like, he likes that word. Foreshadow. The bird said king again, and then Mormont said, the realm has 3 kings already. That's too many. That's too many for my liking. And then Mormont is like stroking the raven, but he's looking at Jon. And Jon said it made him feel odd. Mormont is talking about like Rob's life as a king and how he's going to be called your grace and he's going to marry a princess and he's going to have like this lavish life, while Jon is stuck at the wall and he said, "Tell me that none of this troubles you, Jon, and I'll name you a liar." Yikes. Jon said, "Be troubled and keep my vows." That was interesting. I think it's so interesting that we just got like whole Targaryen lore basically from like the recent rulers, and it's with Jon of all people. Like it just makes me like question, like, we know Mormont has definitely like a soft spot for Jon, but like why is he having this conversation with Jon? And even Jon asked that question, he's like, Jon's like, "Why are you telling me all this?" And he's like, "Do I have to have a reason?" But then I'm like, Mormont, do you know something? Like I feel like I'm still pretty set that Ashara, Dane, and Rhaegar had Jon. Like I'm pretty set on that because he has so many ties to the Targaryen history. Like every time we're talking about the Targaryen history, Jon is brought up, you know? So it's like I feel like that tie is very heavily there, but at the same time it just makes me question so many things because I'm like, why is it Jon that's always learning this stuff? Like he's learning his family history, you know? Like I just feel like that's still a thing. Okay, we're on to Catelyn. Interesting. They made Robb a crown. The ancient crown of the Kings of Winter had been lost 3 centuries ago. Apparently Aegon did something with it. I feel like we still have it somewhere. That's so cool. I love that Robb has a crown. Interesting. It seems uncomfortable in his head. He keeps moving it. Sir Cleos Frey is here, and he's anxious because the direwolf. That definitely seems to be like Robb's power source. Like everybody's freaked out about the direwolf, and I love it. So Sir Cleos is the one who goes and sends the message to Cersei. But this is like a whole messy affair. Like he's like half Frey, half Lannister. His mom is Tywin's sister. Messy. Damn. Kat blames herself for like pushing Ned to go to King's Landing. She's like reflecting on that conversation they had. Damn. Robb's demands are just so ridiculous. It's like something that you know they're not going to agree to, and I'm wondering if like Robb knew that or if he just is a little like not as intellectual in this realm, because to me it's like you're offering to give back a Frey and a Lannister squire. In exchange, you have to give me all of this stuff. You have to give me the girls. You have to give me all of our men back. You have to tell Tywin to stand down. You have to give us Ice back. And then you also have to give us the land in the north. But all you get are these 2 people, and we're keeping Jaime. Like, obviously, that's not going to go over well. I think if you had added Jaime into that mix, it maybe would have gone over a little better. But I feel like these terms are just, like, so heavily, like, one-sided. Yikes. So a big part of this is we have like the men in the north who are like, yay, freedom. But if Cersei were to accept these terms, then you're kind of leaving everybody in the south with the conflict still. Like the Tullys still have a conflict, you know, like the Lannisters are still a really big problem in that area. So you're kind of like abandoning them if those terms come true. You know, you like go back to your home and you're just like kind of safe in your home, but other people aren't. Even Kat said a wiser man might have offered sweeter terms. I actually agree with Kat on this. Like, she's telling him, and she had told him before this meeting thing happened, that Cersei is never going to consent to trade sisters for a pair of Lannister cousins. So to like me and Kat, we're like, hey, these terms don't make any sense. Like, she's gonna reject them. And Robb just like isn't listening. And he's like, oh, well, you know, the guys are going to be mad if I do that. And it's like, okay, but you have to think like strategically, what's the best play here? Yikes. They're talking about Arya and Sansa. And he said, I won't free him, not even for Arya and Sansa. And then Kat said her son was looking down at her. Yikes. I mean, she's definitely in mother mode, but at the same time, like, we are talking about these terms you just set, you know? And she's trying to get these terms to actually be fulfilled and not just be thrown in the trash like they're going to be. Rob's getting cocky. Yikes. He's like not listening to anything Kat is saying. Then Edmure Tully is like, Kat, don't. The boy has the right of this. And then he like turns around on Lord Edmure and is like, don't call me boy. Rob, that's your uncle. Ooh. Kat said, girls aren't important enough, are they? I still don't agree. I don't know how Kat is going to do this in the book, so I'm really excited to read it. But in the show, obviously, she frees Jaime Lannister to get the girls back. Yeah, I still don't agree with that. But what Kat is saying now, I do agree with. And I think this context is really important because Kat is basically like holding to that these terms aren't going to work without Jaime Lannister. And I'm like right beside her with this because they're just not going to work without Jaime Lannister. But Rob is making her feel so stupid right now, or like trying to make her feel stupid right now because like he just keeps bringing it back to it being about the girls. And like, oh, well, if I have to fight Jaime again, I'll fight Jaime again. And it's like, that's not the point though. So it's very interesting. Yikes, now he's trying to send off Kat. I also have to remember this is from like Kat's perspective. So I think Kat has a very different perspective than Rob right now. And I think it'd be really interesting to be in Rob's head right now. Damn. He's gonna send Theon away and Kat's like, don't do that. And Kat brought up a really good point of like, if you keep Theon here, we're gonna get the Greyjoy ships no matter what because Theon's a hostage. So like either way, we're getting the ships, so don't send Theon. And that's a perspective I'd never even realized. Like, he very easily could have just been like, okay, give me your ships. We have Theon. You know, like, that's crazy. It's so interesting. Every single chapter, we're talking about the comet. Like, it's like everyone is wondering what this comet is. Kat doesn't think the comet is a good omen because it's Lannister colors. So Beric Dondarrion is in the south fighting the raiders and then just hiding in the woods afterwards. That's so funny. Aw, some of Ned's guards from King's Landing are with Beric Dondarrion right now. Yikes. So Rob let a lot of the Riverland men go back home to defend their homes, but now it's like a hot mess and they're all like scattered. Very smart, Kat. She's thinking of the Lannisters and she knows like out of every Lannister, Tywin is the true danger. And that is true. So they're just like wreaking havoc. They're burning anything, they're maiming men, like they're leaving behind these like wrecked towns. So Tywin really wants them to try to fight him at a Harrenhal. And he's playing. That's crazy. We're learning about Harrenhal and like all the weirwood trees that got cut down and like how much time and energy got put into this place. And Kat said, on the very day that King Harren took up residence, Aegon the Conqueror had come ashore to King's Landing. That sucks. Sir Stafford Lannister? Sir Stafford? He's making a new host at Casterly Rock? Uh-oh. Kat said, another nephew? Interesting. Kat is crafty. So Kat is talking to the Blackfish right now, and he's like, there's a lot of trouble. He's basically like the eyes and ears of Rob's council. And he's like, there's a lot going on. So Tywin is making everything a mess, and he's trying to piss them off, and he's trying to get them scattered so that way they will go fight him in Harrenhal. Then on top of that, he's also creating a like another military group at Casterly Rock, and they're gonna go attack. And so Cat and the Blackfish are like, we need a distraction. We need something to pull Tywin out of Harrenhal because he's playing too many games. So that's why they want to go to Renly. Interesting. Y'all, this chapter was so good. And I feel like it's so different. I know I said this a lot in the first book, but in this book, it really feels like I'm reading like a new story. Like in the first book, it felt like I was reading about first season with like, you know, a few new things added in. But this book, it feels different. Like it feels like it's a different story. It feels like it's a different environment, and I really like it. But I feel like this chapter, it was very interesting to see Rob, and I know we're looking at it through Kat's perspective, so once again I am taking this with a grain of salt, but I do feel like this like cockiness coming from Rob, this arrogance, it's really gonna be like his downfall in the end, because I think he's getting really good advice from like Lord Edmure, from Kat, and because he's so cocky, he's really just like brushing it all off, and he just thinks like, oh, like I'll win the battle, we're fine. But then once again, like it's not all about just like the fight. It's about the strategy, it's about the manipulation. And I think that's something that he's really missing right now. And I'm really interested to see how Rob's character is going to shape up like as we go through, because I'm surprised that this cockiness is already very prevalent when we're only like 12% of the way into the book. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Rob's character is going to like change and grow into, because it's already changing a lot. But I really like that chapter. That was really good. Okay, we're on to Tyrion. I love how everybody looks down on Janos Slynt. Like, everybody's like, ugh, Janos. Ew. Janos Slynt is just like drinking and drinking. Tyrion's talking to him about Harrenhal, and he's like, you're so bold. Yikes. Tyrion's thinking of promoting Bywater, and Janos Slynt is talking shit on him for losing a hand at the Greyjoy Rebellion. Oh no. Did they already go and kill all the illegitimate children? That kind of like slipped my mind, because, I mean, obviously they're looking for Gendry, but I mean, we got like a whole scene of it in the show, but Tyrion's talking to him about it right now, and he's like, Deem, who's the guy he's trying to promote, is the one that went into the brothel, and he actually like wound up killing the mother as well. Damn. Tyrion said, whoever the king names will not have an easy time stepping into your armor. LOL. Also, what is it with Mormont's sister bedding bears? What is that about? That's crazy. Janos Slynt made his sigil a spear, like the spear that he stabbed Ned with. Tyrion's making little comments about it. Period. Damn, Tyrion's not playing. Oh, Janos Slynt has 3 sons? That's nice. Tyrion is saying like they're gonna squire up his sons and still leave them as like Lord Slynts and give them a place. They just can't have Harrenhal. It's better than nothing. Janos Slynt said, I'm the king's friend. Please. Damn. The guy they were just talking about, the one without the hand, is the one that's at the door. That's who Tyrion promoted. What was his name? Like Bywater? That's crazy. So not only is he sending Janos Slynt to the wall, but he's also sending all of his little friends with him. And Deem is going on this ship. And Tyrion was like, wouldn't be a problem if he fell overboard, by the way. That's crazy. Ooh, it was Varys who got Gendry out. That's interesting. Tyrion is still convinced that Cersei is the one who called for all of those babies to be killed, but I'm still wondering if it's Joffrey. And Varys is just kind of letting him play along with that Cersei mindset. Aw, poor Tyrion. He's thinking of the woman who just got killed and he said, "Can a whore truly love anyone, I wonder?" Don't answer that. So far, love that Shay isn't in King's Landing or in the Red Keep. And I also love that we promoted Bywater, who is somebody who's already in the King's Guard, somebody who's trained, somebody, you know, whatever, somebody who's next in line, and somebody who's worthy of that spot rather than Braun. So I really like that change. No offense, Braun. I just think, like, that's just a little immature to be promoting only your friends, you know? Interesting. They're talking about Ned, and Tyrion's like, well, it seems like Cersei's right. Like, she had no control in that scenario. And they're talking about how, like, Janos Slynt and Sir Ilyn carried it out swiftly and without hesitation, almost as if they had expected it. Why do I feel like Littlefinger is a part of that mix? Like, I feel like Littlefinger, Janos Slynt, Sir Ilyn, Joffrey, they all were crafting this up. I don't know why I'm putting Littlefinger in it, but I'm putting Littlefinger in it. We're talking about power resides where men believe it resides. This conversation is a lot more in depth. I love it. And Varys said, "A shadow on the wall, yet shadows can kill." And then that brings me back to Stannis and the fool that was making those comments about shadows. I feel like Tyrion is the first person to say, "Who are you, truly?" to Varys. It's so fun having Varys in court. He's like, "Oh, by the way, the master of the king's galley is gonna slip away and join Stannis' side. Just thought you should know." That's crazy. Put him down for a dose of Joffrey's justice. Damn. The Red Wines are trying to get out, and Varys is snitching on them right now. He's gonna send them to the wall. That's crazy. We have a lot of religious people in the town, and Tyrion said to just leave them. That's so fun. Varys literally came into Tyrion, started talking to him, gave him a riddle, and then he's like, "Hey, here's my list of traitors." Okay, bye. That's crazy. Tyrion, with this little Janos Slynt move, not only does he get rid of Janos Slynt, who you can't trust, and the whole Harrenhal problem, but it also leaves the City Watch in his hands. So crafty. See, Tyrion knows this court and he knows it well. He's talking about how Varys would have me believe that I have replaced one of Joffrey's men with one of my own. More likely, I have replaced Littlefinger's man with one belonging to Varys. So he's like, he already knows what they're doing. Like, nothing is a secret to him. He's like, okay, this is Varys's man. Whatever. That's crazy. Damn. Bronn just said he would kill a woman and a babe for a bunch of money. Oh, that sucks. It's just one of those things where it's like there's just really bad people in the world, you know? And like I think a lot of times, especially in environments like King's Landing, like they're gonna do whatever they can for money, for glory, for honor, to raise their station. Like it's not even about morals anymore. It's all about like who can become the best. So that sucks. But it's really fun seeing Tyrion work, and especially like getting more details into his plots. Like we know why he's replacing Janos, and he knows like it's cleaning up multiple things, and then he knows he has his eyes on Cersei. And so there's just like there's so many things going on in Tyrion's mind at one time, and we get to be like let in on it. And it's so cool. I love it. Okay, we're on to Arya. That's crazy. So as they get further and further like up King's Road, the King's Road? Yeah, the King's Road. As they get further and further up the road, the like road gets like smaller and smaller, and so it's taking them forever to get anywhere. One time Lami was on watch and she started climbing trees and she was right above his head and he never knew. That's so funny. Aw, poor Gendry has no idea why they want him. Lami thinks that Gendry is Ned's illegitimate child. You're close. Damn, Arya's thinking of running off. She should have, honestly. If she had run off at this point, I feel like she would have made it to the wall. Arya's catching rabbits. I love that for her. Damn. So men of the Night Watch are just really not respected anymore. They're like at Briar White, and they're like making them pay for everything and telling them to get out and stuff. And Yoren was like, you know, there was a time where we were respected and like fed and given a roof and like a place to sleep, and now they're just like the scum of like the land. That's crazy. So the further north they get, the more like people protect their lands. But it's pissing Yorn off like so much. And he's saying, let's see how well he likes it up there when the others come to take him. He'll scream for the watch then, that he will. I mean, that's a fair point. Like, nobody's taking the watch seriously, but when it really comes down to it, like, the watch does protect people. And I know it's just a bunch of like criminals and everything, but at the same time, like, you do need them, but people don't believe in all of that stuff. Oh, they're starting to see fires now? That's crazy. Oh, the whole village is gone. Oh, that's crazy. There's people still living? Arya and Hot Pie bonded. Hot Pie was like, I'm scared. Arya said, me too. Poor babies. Old Nan used to tell them a story about a man like imprisoned in a dark castle by evil giants, and he like tricked his way out of it. Then the minute he got out, the others took him. That's crazy. Oh, the woman died. The woman like always said please like over and over again. When the woman died, like Arya thought she could hear the branches whispering please over and over again. I feel like Arya has like a gift of death, which I think is really cool. And I don't really know what that means yet, but I'm gonna expand on that at some point. That's so crazy. They're worried about wolves now. Is there a wolf out here? I know we're close to the God's Eye, which is like where we were talking about that big group of wolves, which means we're close to Nymeria? Oh, that's crazy. One of the wolves looked at her, bared his teeth at her, and then just walked off. It's because she is a wolf. Arya said Jory and I threw rocks at her until she ran off. Jory helped her in that scenario? I don't remember that. Damn. Yoren's regretting his choices. He's talking about how in like all his time he's only lost 3 men and that they should have taken a boat, and he's like kicking himself for that. It's getting spooky in here. Poor Arya. She's like really getting to a spot where she's like, I don't know if I can do this. Because there's just so much going on. We have like places on fire. They're running out of food. The like road is getting more narrow. And then now they're like surrounded by wolves, which like I feel like Arya's always going to be safe around wolves. But she doesn't know that, you know? So when she's like out in the woods and there's these wolves, like obviously that's terrifying. But I still feel like Nymeria's in that pack. I don't know if Nymeria was the one that looked at her. Arya said it was a boy. So that's very interesting that they didn't attack her though, especially when Ned like called her like, wolf-blooded. So I feel like Arya herself is just a wolf. But I think it's getting pretty rocky on the road, but I feel like they're getting pretty far. So I'm really eager to see what happens with like the guards and everything. If they're gonna catch up to them or if something different happens. Like, I'm really eager to see what happens in that. But those are some really good chapters. Okay, y'all, let's read our book. We're on to Davos. I'm super excited. I will say that I know our book vlogs recently have been a little shorter than normal. I do think next month I'm going to change our book vlogs to being posted on Saturday, just so that way I have more days to film before I have to post. So that way maybe we can have a little bit like longer videos with more chapters in instead of like so many shorter videos. So probably next month we'll be changing the posting day to Saturday. But yay! No, that's crazy. They're burning the 7 right now. Ooh, sons, plural. Davos has more than one son? Interesting. So Allard is the more troublesome one? That's insane. I can't believe we're burning the 7 right now. Insane. So we're like destroying seps, burning the 7, locking up septons. Like we're going way out of our way to like make it known that we worship the Lord of Light. And I mean, naturally throughout like all the land, this has got to be like insanely blasphemous. Like imagine this is your god and like Stannis is over here doing all of this and he wants to be on the throne. Like that's crazy. He's thinking of Maester Crescent and like how he died, and like Davos is pretty much the only one who knows that there was poison in that. Everybody else is like, oh, it was the Lord of Light. But Davos is like talking about how Melisandre survived that, and he said, but somehow her god shielded her, which I think is very interesting. Like that's an interesting way to phrase that. Dang, that's crazy. These like statues of the gods are old. They had been carved from the masts of the ship that had carried the first Targaryens from Valyria. That's crazy. Like, not only are you burning, like, people's religion, but on top of that, you're burning history. Interesting. Some of the lords seem a little off. Bar Emmon is, like, gray and pale, and then Lord Valyrion, I can never say their name, is just, like, watching Stannis. Aw, the Valyrians like look down on Stannis in his house because, or Davos in his house because he's like Davos. Oh, we have a lot of kids. Dale and Allard, Merrick and Mathos, and Devon. We have a daughter? Mariah? Oh, maybe that's his wife. Is that his wife? What is Azor Ahai, if I'm saying that right? She's talking about bringing Lightbringer out of the flames and it's going to make all the darkness go away. She's talking about the long summer. And then she said, he who clasps it shall be Azor Ahai come again. Is that the Lord of Light? Beloved of Rulhar, because Rulhar is Lord of Light. That's so cool that we have all of, like, Davos has more than one son, and one of them is, like, Squire to Stannis, basically. Patchface is saying another riddle. He's saying, under the sea, smoke rises and bubbles and flames burn green and blue and black. Wildfire? Is that the Battle of Blackwater? Ooh. The flames on the sword are jade green. Okay, so Azor Ahai is the warrior of light and the son of fire. I mean, once again, this could just be Melisandre's magic tricks. But at the same time, it's gotta mean something that Stannis was able to get the sword and it turned green and, you know, whatever. So, it's gotta mean something, right? I don't know. Also, it seems like Selyse is Melisandre's little bestie, which, like, I didn't really get that vibe in the show. It felt like she, like, followed after Melisandre and she, like, wanted Melisandre's attention. But in the book, they're, like, little besties, it seems like. So we have Davos, who is Stannis' man. If Stannis falls, they go for Davos. And then we have the queen, Selyse, who's just kind of her own thing. And she has, like, all of these ambitious knights and minor lordlings who are like Lord of Light advocators, and they like follow Selyse because of that. Like they're part of her group because of that. And then Davos has to keep reminding himself like Selyse is queen, which is crazy. I like Allard so far. He's very anti this. That's a good point. Davos was like, you're a smuggler's son. And his son was like, I'm a knight's son. And if you're not going to say that, they're not going to remember it. That's true. That's how you command respect. Davos is like, just shut up, keep your head down, and work. And then the boys are complaining about, it seems like the queen's men, they like get all of the good things first. Like they get the good wood, they get the good ships first, and then everybody else gets like the leftovers. Interesting. Salador San's ship is named Valerian. That's cool. I love how there's such a big focus on the gargoyles. Like, I don't know why, but I feel like the gargoyles are important to the story because every time we're in Dragonstone, we're mentioning these gargoyles multiple times. Salador San is called the Prince of the Narrow Sea, or at least that's what he calls himself. Salador San said they're always doing that in Lys. It's boring. I like that. He said, he who hurries through life hurries to his grave. Good point. Interesting. King's Landing is already building scorpions. That's not like a new thing, oh, because Danny's here. Like, they're already doing it. Ooh, Salador San has the tea. He's telling Davos about Tyrion being in King's Landing, that Renly and Marjorie are like on their way to King's Landing potentially. Interesting. Salador San said that sword was not Lightbringer. So it was a little magic trick. Oh, I love the context I get in the book. This is so fun. Damn. He's telling us like how the Lightbringer sword was made and how the guy like killed his wife and Azor Ahai, or however you say it, I'm sorry. He like killed his wife, he made 3 different blades, like it was this whole process. He's made multiple comments about how the blade was burnt. Like he's saying like that's a knockoff, like that's not the real thing. The real thing burns. That's crazy. Well, that's fun. It wasn't even hard to get Salador San on our side. He was like pretty much on the side of like helping out with King's Landing to begin with. Interesting. Davos is thinking of Thoros of Myr and his flaming sword. I wonder if is that Lightbringer? Question mark? What, y'all? How come all of these flames are green? That just brings me back to like Mad King, Aerys, Wildfire. Like if our blades are turning green with fire from like Lord of Light, and then we have Wildfire and Aerys going mad and like Wildfire and that fire being green, like I feel like that's correlated. Davos is saying that Thoros of Myr's sword isn't real magic. Davos is like, I couldn't kill my own wife. Like, I'm not made for that. But I feel like Stannis is. Like, if Stannis really wanted Lightbringer and he had to kill Selyse for it, and he had to kill Selyse for it, or like somebody he loved a lot, like Shireen, I feel like he would do it. So Davos's thing is to pat the gargoyle on the head and say luck. I love that. And I feel like there's something to that. That's so interesting. Davos is like the only one in court that's like, no, let's not go to King's Landing. We're gonna die. And everybody else, even Salador San, is like, oh, we'll be fine. We've got it. That's so fascinating. Ooh. So House Florent is Selyse's house, but her uncle is here. But the rest of House Florent has sworn to Renly. Tea. Davos said he is a queen's man and I am the king's. So there's like a split in the court of like Stannis versus like Selyse and Lord of Light people. And Stannis isn't really like in that group, but it's his wife. Okay, am I having a slow moment here? Stannis is crafting up the letter that's going to go out to all the realm, right? And he's talking about how all of the Lannister kids aren't Roberts. And he's like, I'm the true king, whatever, whatever, you know, the letter. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Ned's letter never got to Stannis in the book. No? Because didn't Cersei intercept it because Sansa went and snitched? So how does Stannis know this? I'm confused. I feel like we've read this and I'm forgetting about it. No, because Ned's letter got intercepted by Cersei because she had said like, oh, he was trying to send a message to Stannis. And she had said that in like a meeting. So how does Stannis know? Melisandre? That's crazy. I very much could have forgotten that it mentioned it in the book because I'm mixing show and book in my head. So let me know. Oh, Stannis is messy. He's sending out Davos and one of Davos's sons to go to like different parts of the world, of the continent, and pin the letter on like keeps and brothels and whatever. So literally the whole country knows. That's insane. Oh, we're going to Bravos and the Free Cities as well? Ew. It's interesting. Davos is the only one to like be confrontational and upfront with Stannis, and he's like, hey Stannis, you don't have any proof. And Stannis is like, I actually do, because Robert bedded somebody on my bed on my wedding night and now has an illegitimate child. And I think he might be talking about Maya. Oh, Edric Storm. So we have a son. Is that son still in Storm's End? Who's Edric? Edric is going to be important to the plot. Let's go get Edric. Davos is spitting facts. He's telling Stannis, like, hey, be careful with burning the Seven, because, like, people aren't going to like you very much if you do that. And that's, like, my big concern for Stannis right now is, like, you can't, if you're trying to be a king of Westeros, and half of Westeros serves the old gods and the other half of Westeros serves the Seven, and you're just running around burning their religion and like being so flamboyant with it, like nobody's gonna accept you as king because you're burning people's religion, you know? Like that's a big deal. You have to like try to like subtly introduce your religion. Aww. Stannis said he stopped believing in gods the day he saw Wind Proud break up across the bay. That was his parents' ship, right? That's interesting. So Stannis is talking about like he's not in the Lord of Light business because he's, you know, interested in religion and he likes all of this religious stuff and whatever. He only is like interested or having Lord of Light being surrounded by him because Melisandre has power and he needs that power. That's a good point. I like that. Stannis said, a frightened man is a beaten man. Damn. That's crazy. He said, it's time I've tried another hawk, Davos, a red hawk. So Stannis has always kind of been a little different and a little on the outside. Like it seems like Robert was always kind of like, you know, the older brother, the center of attention. He was even saying that in his story about the bird. Like he has this bird that's like kind of like an embarrassment. And so now he's like, he's doing things differently and he's doing things that are going to work and make him powerful. And I think that's a really cool perspective because for pretty much like the whole show, I've always wondered like, why Lord of Light? Like, where did Melisandre come from? Why this? You know, like it just kind of seems so out of left field, especially for Westeros when we have like the old gods and the Seven. And then all of a sudden we have Stannis who like has the Lord of Light and Melisandre and he doesn't seem that into it. So like hearing him talk about it in the book and be like, she has power and power that I need. It makes a lot of sense. And I really like that. So I think it's going to be really interesting seeing this dynamic because I already really love like having Davos chapters and seeing like all the doubts that he has in his head and the way he like tries to navigate these conversations. But there's obviously like this huge respect for Stannis, which we knew from the show. But I think like seeing it in the books and seeing like how Davos tries to do things to help Stannis instead of just like fearing him. It's very interesting, and I really like the dynamic of those two. But yeah, y'all, that was a great chapter. Okay, let's read our book. We're on to Theon, and I'm so excited. Theon's on his way to Pike. Let's go. Pike sounds so cool. I wish we saw like more of it in the show. Like I know we only saw like a little bit of it, but the way it's like described in the book, it sounds so cool. Interesting. Theon said, and here at least the direwolf of Stark did not fly above, casting its shadow down upon the Greyjoy Kraken. Poor Theon, he's like constantly under the Stark shadow. That's so sad. Theon said, it is my comet. Okay, buddy. Okay. We've obviously heard like Greyjoys are sailors and, you know, all the Greyjoy tea, but it's interesting like seeing the perspective of Greyjoys from Theon's mind, because in Theon's mind he's talking about how like Greyjoy sailors are like really tough and kind of not scared of anything, and they like get really close to the land, and they're kind of brave and risky, and so they're very different from like other sailors. Like they're a lot more, what's the word for that, like bold, I want to say. Maybe a little crazy. Theon said, but my lord father once told me that a hard place breeds hard men, and hard men rule the world. I mean, it's not wrong, especially in like a world of Westeros. Like it is important to be like a hard man. Like it's just so brutal and barbaric. Like I feel like the tough men, the mean men like really fit in well in Westeros, but I think any other place it wouldn't work. Ooh, that's fun. Theon said, if every captain was a king aboard his own ship, as was often said, it was a small wonder they named the islands the land of 10,000 kings. That's so cool. I didn't even know the islands were named that. So each person, like each captain, is a king. And so they all have like this haughty mentality. Like they're all Greyjoys pretty much. Like they just have this mentality that like they're the shit. We see where Theon gets it from. No, that's crazy. He's like talking with the captain. I think he's a captain. And obviously he's sleeping with his daughter right now. And they're like talking on the deck or whatever. And then Theon said he led the girl away aft while her father watched them go in sullen silence. Yuck. And it's like the captain, the father, is kind of like bowing to Theon because Theon's obviously a lord. So he's like trying to not piss off Theon. So then he just has to sit there and watch Theon like take his daughter. Ooh, that sucks. That makes me feel bad for him. Ooh, that's fun. So we're learning like why they're raiders, which we've never really learned about. Like we always knew they were like raiders, pillagers, like not good people, but Theon's like expanding on that a little more, and I think that's really fun. So he's saying that the land that they have is not like good land. Like you can't produce good crops. There's not like gold like the Lannisters and mines. Like they just really don't have much. And so that's why they've turned to raiding, is so that way they can go get stuff, because they basically don't have much on these islands. That makes more sense to me. Weird comment. Theon said, I fear those days are gone. No longer may we ride the wind with fire and sword. I don't know, when I think of Greyjoys, I don't think of fire at all. So I feel like fire and sword is a very weird wordage for that. Theon and like pretty much everybody on the Iron Islands is always talking about the old way, like the old way, the Greyjoys in the old way. And I feel like this was very prevalent in early seasons of Game of Thrones too, where like Theon talked a lot about like how great Greyjoys used to be. And I feel like at some point in the story, like we're gonna get to see Greyjoys back in the old way, like in their kind of in their prime again. Like we'll get to see that. See, this is what I'm talking about. To carve out kingdoms and write their names in fire and blood and song. We're talking about the Iron Island, guys. Why are we saying fire and blood, fire and sword? Like, that's so Targaryen-ish. It's fascinating. Like, what are the odds that, like, there's a tie-in between Targaryens and Greyjoys, and, like, what does that look like? Because, like, why do we keep mentioning fire and blood, fire and swords when we're talking about Pike? And I don't know if there's, like, a tie-in between Targaryens, because what I remember from history and lore is we had a lot of the men in Pike were working on Harrenhal, right? And then Aegon the Conqueror destroyed most of them, and then that's where the Greyjoys rose to power. I'm pretty sure that's how that happened. But I just think it's really interesting to be talking about like fire and blood and fire so much. Like it reminds me of A Song of Ice and Fire. So Greyjoys are somehow a part of this prophecy, it feels like. Or the men at Pike. Iron Islanders. What's the proper name for them? I see why Theon thinks that comment is for him. He said, "This is the season, the year, the day, and I am the man." That he's gonna bring back like the old way. He's gonna bring back like Iron Islanders being the shit, basically. Theon telling her that she might be pregnant with a king's child is crazy. Theon... Ooh, that's interesting. Theon made a comment that like the men in Pike, the Iron Islanders, they like are really soured to the taste of the Seven because of King Robert. So they see like King Robert and his anger, his fury, and they associate that with the Seven, and it's a big reason why they reject the Seven. Also, they worship the drowned god, but it just like made it worse. Euron mention! Guys, I'm so excited to learn more about Euron because I just know Euron has so much more context in the book. But Theon is looking for Euron right now in his ship called Silence. Which makes me think, why is it called Silence? Is it because of that, like, vow of silence he made his men take that one time? We heard a story about that in the show. That's interesting, though. Give me Euron! Ooh! Theon's uncle Victorian, I don't think I'm saying that right, is commander of the Iron Fleet. That's interesting. Is that the one that's like really mean to him in the show, maybe? The one that's like awful to him? I wonder if he's going to be a part of this story. I'm sure he is. Uncle Aaron? I think I'm saying that right? He's the one who's greeting Theon when he gets off the ship. First of all, I already love that so much more than it being Yara. But why Aeron? It's a very Targaryen name. No? Theon has a mother. I thought she was like dead and had been dead for a while. It sounds like she's gonna die soon though. She has a cough. Oh, Yara's name is not Yara in the book. It's Asha? Hopefully I'm saying that right. And Asha is not even on Pike right now. Why didn't we have this greeting in the show? Because the whole like Yara Theon greeting was so uncomfortable. It's like branded into my brain at this point. And I hate it. So why didn't we have this? This makes more sense to me. Like Theon's dad sent his uncle to go get him. It's a little tense. It's a little weird. Asha's not even here. That's interesting. Asha's longship is called Blackwind, and then Robb Stark's wolf is named Greywind. And Theon is like thinking about how weird that is that those names are so similar, but I feel like that's like symbolic to like Theon's two different lives where we have like Greywind and Blackwind and him like being separated by the two. It's very interesting. T. Drowned God is real. 100%. Or there's something going on in the sea that like is important. I feel like we just have too many comments and mentions of like mer people or the drowned god and like too many weird like throwaway comments about the sea that it's important to the story somehow. And it makes me think like the drowned god is real, like is there civilization under there, like what's going on in the sea, because I feel like that's something that was really like not an element in the show, but in the book I feel like there's a lot of like sea talk. We've had talks from Tyrion, talks from Patchface. Now we're talking to Arion, and he's talking about how he became a devout follower after he almost drowned in the sea. So he saw the drowned god? What did he see down there? I have so many questions. This also leads me right back to Arion, or however you, or not Arion, it leads me back to Patchface, because Arion is saying, that man drowned, nephew, his lungs filled with seawater, and the fish ate the scales off his eyes. When I rose again, I saw clearly. And I feel like something very similar happened to Patchface, because Patchface, like, they could have swore he was dead, and then he's alive, and now he talks in all these riddles, and half of his riddles are about the sea. What's going on in the sea? This is important. I really like this dynamic much better than Yara, because we're seeing early like how differently viewed Theon is, where I feel like Theon was really kind of taken aback by it in the show. In the book it's a little more obvious and he's just a little more blinded to it, where even his uncle is like making a bunch of comments about how he's a Stark and like he's no longer a Greyjoy, and he even like re-baptizes him when he first gets there. Like it's definitely a bigger element that like Theon is not accepted by everybody. It's not just his dad. It seems like everybody views him as like a Stark now, and that's sad. Like he just made a comment. He said, "You're a great fool if you believe your Lord Father will ever hand these holy islands over to a Stark." And he's talking about Theon. Like that's crazy. See, this is giving Lord of Light. Hear my crackhead theory right now. Drowned God, Lord of Light, definitely the same thing. Because we have the whole ritual with Stannis and Melisandre and Lightbringer, I think it's called. And that's like somehow partly in the sea, and he's like bringing the sword out of the water. Now listen to this. This is from Aaron. It is the flame it's the flame the drowned god brought from the sea, and it proclaims a rising tide. It's time to hoist our sails and go forth into the world with fire and sword as he did. Lightbringer. So it's like Lord of Light. So it is tied to the prophecy. So is the drowned god and the Lord of Light the same? Yes. And why does the Lord of Light live in the sea? Questions. I sound like a crackhead. This must be so weird for Theon. He's made so many comments of like trying to adjust to being back here. And it's like, this is his home. And can you imagine like going home and just like not recognizing anybody? Like even your castle staff is different. Like you don't know where anything is. You don't know like who these people are. He had even made a comment about how the last time he saw Pike, it was like all destroyed from the rebellion, and now it's like a little more put together. And it's just like it's a whole new home. It's not even home anymore. And that's so sad. I feel bad for him. Ooh. They're keeping Theon in the Bloody Keep? That is a threat. He said 1,000 years before, the sons of the River King had been slaughtered here, hacked to bits in their beds, so that pieces of their bodies might be sent back to their father on the mainland. What? Then he said, Greyjoys weren't murdered in Pike except once in a great while by their brothers, and his brothers were both dead. Nah. So he's put in the Bloody Keep as like a reminder of like, hey, we could kill you. You're technically not a Greyjoy. You're technically a Stark now type of thing. And then he's like, oh, I'm chilling. I don't have any brothers. But I think like Theon is not viewed as a Greyjoy right now. He's viewed as a Stark. And that's a threat. But then the comment about the brothers is interesting because that definitely means Balon is getting killed by Euron. 100%. Nah, that's crazy. Balon doesn't even remember how many years Theon has been gone. He said, oh, it's been 9 years? Theon said, 10. That's so sad. Casterly Rock has never fallen. Y'all, this is the one thing I've learned in all my fantasy books. If you ever have a place or a location that's never fallen, it's falling. Every time. So what's going to happen with Casterly Rock and what's going to happen with the Vale? Because I feel like those comments are important. I'm not gonna lie, the Theon and Rob comment with like Casterly Rock and the Greyjoys, like it sounds good on paper, but it's not a smart idea. Especially because like you're thinking about Tywin. Like Tywin is so crafty and so manipulative, like he's not going to let anything happen to Casterly Rock. Like I feel like that's his main focus. So because he's so big on like legacy and honor and like, you know, their name and history, and so because of that, for like Casterly Rock to even be like looked at, Tywin would wipe you out instantly. Like he would make it happen. So I don't feel like that was a very smart idea. I'm happy Theon is like trying to stand up for himself a little bit. I feel like in the show he kind of just like took it and was really kind of just meek and like didn't say anything. But he just said, call yourself King of the Iron Islands, no one will care, until the wars are over and the victor looks about and spies the old fool perched off his shore with an iron crown on his head. Period, Theon. Like, I feel like that's a good response. Brother. I really liked this chapter. It was like so much fun being inside Theon's head when he is going home and like seeing how he's reflecting on everything and being like, I have no idea where I am. Like, I don't know who these people are anymore. Like, I am the lord of this place, but I'm not respected. And like, he's really kind of like seeing the difference in how he thought he was going to get treated versus how he is being treated. And he even made a comment that like when he was on his way leaving Westeros, they had written to somebody. I should have mentioned it when I was reading it. But he had written and then there was no response. And he was like, oh, maybe my dad just hasn't gotten the letter yet. And it's like he really held out hope, thinking that like he was still loved by his own family, only to like come home, realize everything is different. You don't know where anything is, and you're now viewed as a Stark. Like you're no longer a part of this family. And it's just so sad. And it's just, I don't know, it makes me really bummed out for Theon, and it makes me question, like, what is the dynamic going to look like when he decides to betray Robb? Is it going to be because he wants his father's approval? Does he feel like he has no choice? Like, what is that going to look like in Theon's head? Because I think right now it'll be, like, really interesting to see. Yay, we're back with Dany! Interesting. The Dothraki are saying that the comet is an ill omen. I think that's interesting because so far I think the only person who said it's like a bad omen is Kat, I want to believe. There might be one other, like maybe Osha, but not a lot of people are thinking this comet is bad, especially in Westeros. They're like, oh, the comet's for me, it's a great sign. And Dany is surrounded by people that are like, this comet is bad. Like, we don't like this comet. Dany's still being interesting. She said, it's the herald of my coming, she told herself. The gods have sent it to show me the way. I personally think the comet is for Dany, but I also think it's because of her dragons. Like, I think Osho was right, but I also think it's like a symbol of like magic being back. Like, I think it's the gods' way of saying like there's magic, there's dragons, like we're back type of thing. I do think it's interesting that she's following the comment because she's like, oh, this is for me, it's the gods guiding me. And I feel like that's a little manic still. Like, I think she's still like in that same mindset we left her with, which is fun. Jorah's officially in the Queen's Guard. Let's go, Jorah. The crazy thing is it's so easy to forget that Dany is so young and she's 14, but she's honestly a natural ruler. Like, she just said this. She said, I must be their strength. I must show no fear, no weakness, no doubt. However frightened my heart, when they look upon my face, they must see only Drogo's queen. Which is interesting because she's still viewing herself as Drogo's queen and not like mother of dragons. But I think eventually that's gonna shift. But I love like her natural gift for like ruling and like knowing that she sets the precedent for the tone and the mood. And she's only 14. Like, that's pretty crazy. Dany's losing people in their little hike right now. Little hike. That's fascinating though. She's saying that the Dothraki believe that the children, because they're too young to ride, they are basically like reborn. So they don't go to the Nightlands, they're born again. That's kind of cool. I like that. Oh, that's sick. Dany's talking about the dragons and her figuring out how to feed them. I also love, like strangely love, that the only way she knows how to feed them is through like something Viserys said in the past. I think that's very interesting. But then she also said, the heat that poured off of them so palpable that on cold nights their whole bodies seemed to steam. That's crazy. I wonder if it like stays like that, like when they get older. Like, do dragons like steam like that? And then that leads me back to like Dragonstone and like Dragonstone steams. That's a really cool like tie-in. I love that. Dany's talking about Vhagar, Rhaenys, and Meraxes right now. And she's saying that Vhagar's breath was so hot that it could melt a knight's armor. And then that brings me back to House of the Dragon when they like added that element in with the fight with Meleys. That's cool. Ooh, that's crazy. The Dothraki are calling Drogon Balerion come again. And Dany's like not, she's kind of into it. She's like, potentially. It could be. We'll see. That's crazy. Dorea dies? Oh, that's so sad. Dorea died. Poor Dany. She said, Dany remembered a night on the Dothraki Sea when the Lysene girl had taught her secrets so that Drogo might love her more. That makes me so sad. Also, isn't Dorea the one that like betrays her in Karth? Or am I thinking of somebody else? Her other handmaiden. I thought it was Dorea though. If it was Dorea that betrays her in Karth, y'all did Dorea dirty in the show because Dorea was loyal to the end. That's so sad. I love that Dany made them like wait for Dorea and like Dorea passing and then they moved on. We just found an abandoned city. Interesting. Ooh. Viserion is like hissing at a spot where a statue was taken. What was the statue? I feel like it's like a statue of Aegon the Conqueror or something. Another fun thing about the book is I love how much we're talking about ghosts. Like, I feel like ghosts are very prevalent. Like, there's ghosts in the Red Keep, there's ghosts in Harrenhal, there's ghosts in this abandoned, like, city. It's very interesting. Like, it feels like the plot is, like, haunted by spiritual elements. like this like wording here. Jorah's like in Dany's tent right now talking to her, and Jorah said, "There are ghosts everywhere. We carry them with us wherever we go." And then she said, "Tell me the name of your ghost, Jorah. You know all of mine." That's so sad. Lenise. Dany said, "It pains him to speak of her," Dany saw, but she wanted to know the truth. Nosy queen. Lenise was a Hightower, which I know a lot about now. And Dany like immediately was like, Hightowers are loyal. And then she was like, I remember Viserys said that Hightowers were among those who stayed true to my father. So like the Hightower Targaryen history goes way back. That's crazy. It's also like the irony of calling a Hightower loyal after like the plot of A Dance of Dragons is crazy. I wonder if Dany knows about like Dance of Dragons, because obviously like she only knows what Viserys has told her. So it's like, does she even know about all of that like Targaryen history, or does she like not know? Ooh, Jorah was whipped. That's crazy. I get it now. I've always been like, it seems so out of character for Jorah to like sell slaves. Like it just seems so out of nowhere. Like there was really like no context given on the show about it. And he had like mentioned once that his wife was like, she wanted a lot or something. But in the book, it's like, it's such a different story. Jorah is whipped for her. And then he pretty much takes her away from like Old Town and her home, where there's just so much going on and there's so much life and like happiness and sunshine. And he takes her to the north. Obviously she's not happy. So then he spends all of his money trying to make her happy and like hiring all these cooks and like trying to make her life fun. And then he goes broke. Yikes. Poor Jorah. Ooh. So he fled with her. Dany's so funny. She like knows that this story is bringing him pain, but she like wants to know the tea. She said, his voice was thick with grief and Dany was reluctant to press him any further, yet she had to know how it ended. Me. No way. So they flee to Lys after like Ned was gonna kill him, and then he runs out of money and he decides to become a sellsword. He's off fighting Bravosi on the Rhoyne when Lenise moved out, left him, and is now living with a merchant prince named Traegar Ormolin. She's his chief concubine now, and even his wife goes in fear of her. That's insane. So not only is Lenise still alive, but she's like living with another man. Yikes. Also, I feel like that's gonna come back into play somehow. Like, why is Lenise still alive? Who is this Traegar person? That's gonna come into the story somehow. Ugh. Jorah, you're being weird. Dany said, what did she look like, your lady Lenise? Jorah smiled sadly. Why, she looked a bit like you, Daenerys. Oh, lordy. Well, then that leads me to more questions. Why does she look like Dany? Like, does she have Dany's hair? Because we know, like, obviously there's got to be some type of Targaryen blood in Hightower blood because of Dance of the Dragons. Unless, like, all of those Hightowers died. But, I mean, there's so many that, like, somehow there's still got to be some type of Targaryen blood in the Hightowers, right? So maybe that's why she looks like Dany. Ugh. She tried to imagine, like, potentially being with Jorah, and she said it was no good. All she could think about was Drogo. Aw, poor Dany. That's so sad. She thinks, like, even if she was gonna find a man in the future, like, no one would maybe want her because she's barren. She said, what man would want a barren wife? That's so sad. And then she later goes on to say, what man could hope to rival Drogo? There we go, queen. I love that Dany sets the tone on, like, her and Jorah's relationship-ish very early. She said, "He can never have me, but one day I can give him back his home and honor. That much I can do for him." So she like knows from this point on, like her and Jorah are a no-go, which I like that because I felt like in the show it was kind of like back and forth. Like sometimes I felt like she was like into him. Maybe I was reading too much into it, but like in the show it kind of felt like it was like this weird back and forth with them. Where like in the book, I'm happy that that boundary is being set now. So like any type of conversations in the future are like strictly friendship. I like that. I will say though, like the Jorah and Dany dynamic is much more icky in the book because I feel like in the show, it like naturally, I don't know if this was like in my head or if it was the show itself, but I like aged up Dany. Like Dany was not 14 in the show for me. Like she was like 20. And so her and Jorah to me in the show was just like a little, yeah, there was age gap, but it was like, you know, she was like 20 in my head and he was what, 40s, 50. And so to me, I like, it didn't really bother me as much, but in the book, it's like she's 14. This man is coming into her tent, like making weird comments. Like it's just, it's really, really icky in the book. And I really don't like it. They named this little city City of Bones. I like that. Ooh. Dany sent her riders out to go, you know, check around them. And Reiko comes back and is talking about he had passed the bones of a dragon, he swore, so immense that he had ridden his horse through its great black jaws. What's that about? What dragon? I have so many questions. There's like so many unanswered questions when it comes to like these areas that Dany's in. And I mean, we have so many comments about Ashai and like there's definitely something with Ashai that's important to this story. We talk about it so much, and even Bran has made comments that there's dragons in Ashai in like the Shadowlands. And then now we're like out kind of by Karth and there's bones of a dragon, a big dragon. Where is this coming from? I'm so confused. I have so many questions and I feel like they're not going to get answered, and that makes me mad. Ooh. Jogo came back with the Karth besties. We didn't go to Karth and like knock on their front door. They came to us. Okay, so we've got the Warlock, we've got Zaro Zondoxos, and then we have the woman with the mask. I had a feeling she was a part of this story more because we saw one or two snippets of her in the show, and I was like, who is this girlie? Like, she seems really interesting. And I think that's the same girlie that came to meet Dany. And I also think it's interesting that she's the only one to speak to them in the common tongue of the Seven Kingdoms. So I feel like she has like maybe some type of gift. She definitely has some type of gift, but I want to figure it out. How do you say her name? Cuaith? Cuaith of the Shadow. We come seeking dragons. Dany said, seek no more. That's so cool. I'm so eager to see what happens with like Dany and Dany's story, because I feel like, y'all, this book especially, like I feel like I'm reading a completely different story, and I love it because I just feel like it's not as easy to predict. Like it's not as easy to be like, oh, I know where we're going with this. I saw the show. Like this definitely feels a lot more different to the show, and I love it so far. But I think it's really fun to get into Dany's mindset a little bit and like really see how she kind of embraces being a ruler. And I think a big part of it is like her persona and like how she holds herself, and she's very conscious of that. And especially for like a 14-year-old, it's crazy. But she had made a comment of like, I don't think I'm a child anymore. Like I don't feel like I'm a child. Like I've just been through so much that like I'm an adult now. And I think that definitely like follows through in her behavior. Like she's definitely a lot more mature and a lot more conscious than a typical 14-year-old. But I'm really eager to see what happens with Karth, especially knowing that like they came to greet her, and the lady with the mask had said they came for dragons, and Dany didn't automatically be like, you can't have them, which is like what happened in the show. So I'm really eager to see what happens with that, because I think that dynamic is going to be very interesting. We're on to Jon. Ooh, we're in White Tree. That's so cool. White Tree is like, it has a giant weirwood. John called it monstrous. It has like an open mouth with skulls in it. No, thank you. Interesting. Mormont said, an old tree. John said, powerful. I'm sorry. What do you mean the children of the forest could talk to the dead? A part of me feels like it's not like what we think, though. I feel like it's like scrying. Like they probably, do you guys know what scrying is? Like, it's very popular in fantasy. It's, you know, where you like throw bones and then it's like on a map or whatever. Yeah, I feel like it's that. It's not like traditional, like, oh, we can raise the dead and talk to them. I think it's like scrying or something. That's interesting, though. And also going to be useful. Or they could just be talking about the others, because the others are technically like dead. So maybe that's what they mean by like talking to the dead. But I feel like that has like multiple meanings to it. John's talking with Edison right now. And Edison was like, who's to say that the bones wouldn't lie? That like really makes me think it's scrying, because he's saying bones. He's not saying like people, he's saying bones. And that's a good point. Like, even if we're scrying or if we're talking to the dead, like obviously that has a very spiritual element to it. And I feel like that means that the gods are involved with that. So how can we trust that the gods are being honest with the communication through the bones? So like, even if we were to scry later into the story and talk to the dead, we can't fully trust that. And then I feel like the gods would use that to mislead whoever was doing it, so that way they can, you know, do whatever they want. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. That's interesting. So John and pretty much like all the men are convinced that something bad happened to these people. Not that they just like ran to Mance Rayder. And it very could be like, oh, they just ran to Mance Rayder, because we know like from the show, Mance Rayder is building up a whole army, whatever. But like this vibe is a little different. It feels like something happened. They were running from the others and like something bad happened. Mormont knows something's off. He's like refusing to let them stay there for the night, and he's immediately writing Maester Aemon. He said, the fourth village all empty. The wildlings are gone. Yeah, something's weird. Ooh, even the woods are empty. Like there's no animals. They're definitely getting scared off. And I think it's the White Walkers. But that makes me think, like, how close are they to the White Walkers? Like, are the White Walkers here? Like, what is up with the others? Because we know, like, with the opening prologue of the first book, the others were obviously there for, what were those guys' names? You guys know who I'm talking about. I'm just blanking on the names right now. The others were there. So do they just like wander around the forest? Like, what's their deal? Are they like trying to get more people? What is their purpose right now? That was a good chapter. I think it's fascinating because like we obviously know that Mormont wanted to go out and Mormont wanted to like see what was up and, you know, whatever. But a big part of me is I'm still like, why are we doing this? Like, you know, something's off, you know? And even Mormont, like him and John I feel like they're thinking the same thing. Like they're thinking about those dead bodies that came back, and they're thinking about how it's so weird that these villages are abandoned. And it's like, I feel like everybody knows that something's wrong, and then they're still continuing to go. And I'm like, oh, this is a bad idea. So I just feel like it's gonna get worse. But knowing that they've already seen 4 villages completely abandoned is not a good sign. Y'all, I got the illustrated version. Uh-oh. That's a sick picture. Can y'all see that? Oh, I'm excited for this chapter. We're on to Arya. There's a body of a soldier. Y'all, this is what I'm talking about though. Like everywhere Arya goes, there's death. Like it follows her. It's weird. Oh no. I've really been loving following Arya in this book because I feel like her story is the one that I'm really like, what's gonna happen? Because it just feels so different from the show. And right now, Yoren is talking about them like potentially getting a boat or multiple boats and like sailing across the God's Eye to Heron Town, which obviously they don't know that Tywin is in Harrenhal right now. So that's a horrible idea. This is interesting, especially knowing like we just watched House of the Dragon. Arya just thought, she's thinking about like what old Nan has told her in the past, and she said, sometimes men went to sleep safe in their beds and were found dead in the morning all burnt up. And that just makes me think of the Strong family. And I'm wondering if like that's what she's referring to, if that's the story that old Nan was talking about. Moral of the story, old Nan is never wrong. Oh, this is so weird. Everything is like abandoned right now, everywhere. We have Jon, who has like everything abandoned. We have Dany, who has everything abandoned. And we have Arya, who has like everything abandoned. And it just feels like these characters are in like the eye of the storm right now. Like it's like too quiet. It's weird. And then we just have like all these people gone and all these like towns and buildings like abandoned. And it's really spooky. Arya's gut is telling her this isn't a good spot. Trust your gut, Arya. Honestly, the little holdfast that they're staying in seems pretty secure. So I'm wondering what's gonna happen with this. At this point, I've like, when it comes to Arya's plot, everything I've watched in the show is now in the trash because we are so far off from like what happened in the show right now that I genuinely have no idea what's gonna happen right now, and it's making me anxious. Ooh, Arya's wolf just woke her up. That's crazy. I mean, I'm assuming that was Nymeria. That's so cool. So she fell asleep when she wasn't supposed to, and then her wolf like immediately woke her up, and Arya knew something was wrong. And nobody's listening to her. I mean, Lami said, Ari has wolves in his head. Lami, you're not wrong. That's interesting. Okay, so there's a group of people here. Not a good group of people. And Jaqen makes a comment of like, is it Red War? What the hell is Red War? That's a weird comment. Red War versus Blue War? What would Blue War be? White Walkers? Jaqen, you're sus. Oh. They're looking for Beric Dondarrion and Thoros because of all the trouble they're causing right now. And they think that this group of Night's Watchmen is like a part of that. Or at least like hiding them or whatever, but honestly they probably just want to fight. So it's not about like Gendry at all. It's about Beric Dondarrion and Thoros. And their group. Rip Wath. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. Dude just died just like that. That's crazy. Arya said the spearhead went in his throat and exploded out the back of his neck. Damn. Sir Amory is ruthless. He said, storm the walls and kill them all in a bored voice. Insane. Arya and Hot Pie defending the wall is so cute, and it also makes me think of Jon. It's not really cute, but it's like wholesome. I really like that they're doing this together. Fear cuts deeper than swords. I love that for her. Y'all, this is intense. This makes me anxious. Ooh. She just stuck a man in his eyes. Oh, never mind. She said, needle never touched him. He reeled backwards and fell. Then she thought, I hope he falls on his face and cuts off his tongue. I love how brutal she is. It's so funny. It's just like this young little girl, like, I hope he dies. Also, Arya needs to be careful with shouting Winterfell because, like, girl, I know we're in the middle of, like, heat of the moment, you know, whatever, but shouting Winterfell is crazy. Oh, that's crazy. So many people are dying right now. Guy named Dauber just died, and she immediately thought that he was, like, no older than Jon. Then she said she didn't think she had done it, but she wasn't sure. That's crazy. Y'all, this is intense. Arya, stop screaming Winterfell. Okay, Gendry. Put in some work, King. Go, Arya. She said she jumped down beside Gendry, landing the way Syrio had taught her. Then she said death was all around her. I'm telling you guys, it like follows her. It's weird. She definitely has like a gift of death, or like, I don't know. There's something with death in Arya, and I feel like knowing like maybe many-faced God, everything that happens later, I don't know if any of that is in the books or not, but there's definitely a gift of death with Arya, and it's so fascinating. Ooh, Arya's gotta get out. Go! Y'all are stressing me out. Okay, we got Gendry, we got Arya, we got Hot Pie, we got Lami. We can't take Garen with us. That sucks. Aw, she's taking the little girl with her. That's precious. W. Gendry. Gendry picked up the little girl. No way. Now is the time that she wants to free Jaqen and that group of men? Damn. I feel like a god is definitely guiding her to do this because, I don't know, I feel like this is kind of out of character for Arya to like risk her whole life to free these men. Arya, you are stressing me out, girl. An axe between the legs of a man is crazy. Period, Arya. Oh my gosh. Jaqen saw her. She made it. We made it into our little escape tunnel. Okay, but what happens now? You know, like, are they gonna like walk into Harrenhal somehow? Like, how do they wind up at Harrenhal? Since this is so different from the show. That's crazy. Y'all, that was so good. That was a chapter. I have been wondering for like weeks now, like what's gonna happen with that, because they know what Gendry looks like and we've been running from them, but then it turns out like these men are not here for Gendry, they're here for Beric Dondarrion and for Thoros. But it just so happens to be the group that has Arya and Gendry. Messy. I feel like they're gonna go through this tunnel though, and then the men are gonna be on the other side of the tunnel like waiting for them or something. Like there's gonna be people stationed over there, and that's how they're gonna get caught. It's gonna be something dumb like that. But not dumb writing, but like annoying for Arya. But that chapter was so good, and it's so fun, especially like I was saying this earlier, like Arya's story feels so different from the show that it's honestly like I'm reading it for the first time. I'm like experiencing the story for the first time because I really don't know what to expect next. Like it really feels like I have no idea what's coming. And so I'm really eager to see like what happens with Arya, because I feel like her story especially is like so different. But same with Dany too. Like I'm noticing Dany's story is definitely changing from how it was in the show, and I'm also eager to see how that goes, because with Dany it was just like, oh, she stumbled upon Karth and they were there, but now it's like a little more intentional, and we're like kind of surrounded by really weird stuff right now. So I feel like these story plot lines are getting really, really interesting. Okay, y'all, let's read our book. We're on to Tyrion. Uh-oh. Cersei and Tyrion just got the Stannis letter. Yikes. Cersei doesn't want Joffrey to see the letter or hear about it, and she doesn't want Tywin to hear about it. Tyrion said, "It was astonishing to see how angry Cersei could wax over accusations she knew perfectly well to be true." Tyrion's little comments in his head are so funny. He said, "Why, sister, he never claims Jaime paid you." Interesting. So Varys told them that some years past, Selyse had taken up with the Red Priest. So her and Melisandre have been friends for years now. That's crazy. Interesting. They get this letter and Cersei's freaking out because of obviously how this makes her look and how it makes her family look. And Tyrion's like, how can we use this? And he's talking about how we can go to the High Septon and we can use it for his line about the Lord of Light, and he's not using the Seven, so we can't crown him. Tyrion's so crafty. He immediately goes to what are my weapons in this? And it's so cool. Very smart. Cersei's like, "We have to get rid of this, all of this right now." And Tyrion's like, "Just let it die down, because you're going to look more sus if you're running around trying to get rid of all of this." Yikes. They're starting a rumor of their own now? I can't with y'all. No way. So they're starting the rumor that Selyse is sleeping with the Florent that's in Dragonstone with them, and Shireen is their daughter, not Stannis' daughter. Y'all are gonna piss off Stannis. They're making jokes that she looks like gargoyles. Oh nah. Littlefinger wants to change the rumor that the man Selyse is sleeping with is now Patchface. Y'all are wild. Littlefinger. He said, "I like my tail better, and so will the small folk." Damn. There's so much more it seems a little more childish in the book. I feel like they're just sitting here and they're like, "What's the best rumor we can come up with?" And Cersei and Littlefinger are just childish, and I love it. Tyrion's watching Littlefinger. He thought, "This one is more dangerous than I knew." Oh, Podrick is here. Podrick's only 12? What? What chain are we talking about? Tyrion's making a giant chain. He's talking to all the smiths right now. Is he gonna put it in the sea, potentially? Oh my gosh. Tyrion's telling all of them to drop everything they're doing and make this giant chain. And they're like, "Well, Cersei told us she wants a bunch of chainmail and armor and swords made." And then Tyrion was like, "It can wait, do my chain first." And they said, "Her Grace said those that didn't meet their numbers would have their hands crushed." Cersei, smashed on their own anvils. Tyrion said, "Sweet Cersei, always striving to make the small folk love us." Some of these guys think they're too good for this. Interesting. This guy is talking about making Tyrion armor, and he's telling him that he will make him a demon's head for a helm, crowned with tall golden horns. I think he's mocking Tyrion right now, but it would be kind of sick, I'm not gonna lie. Damn. Tyrion said, "You will make chains or you will wear them. The choice is yours." Tyrion's head is so fun. It's such a fun place to be in. He's thinking, The ones who look the most suspicious are likely innocent. It's the ones who look innocent I need to beware. True. Where's Tyrion going right now? We're at a brothel? What are we doing here, Tyrion? Wow, sounds pretty wild in here. He's thinking of girls for Joffrey, but I don't know if that's what he's doing right now. What? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Shataya? Hopefully I'm saying that right. Her daughter is here and she's suggesting her daughter to Tyrion right now? Interesting. So in the Summer Isles, working in a pleasure house is actually like cool. It's something that you get aura for. If you're like really good at it, then people like that. I don't know how to say that. Interesting. It can also be a version of honoring the gods. That's fascinating. It's so interesting seeing like different cultures and how different like areas in the Game of Thrones world view things, like religion, pleasure houses, like stuff like that, bloodlines, like every place has its own like opinion on it, and it's so in depth. It's so cool. Tyrion. He said, if I could pray with my C word, I would be much more religious. Wow, that's a fun name. Alaya? Alayaya? Alayaya. I don't think I'm saying that right. What are we doing? Varys and Tyrion are being so secretive. I had a feeling Tyrion wasn't here for a girl. Once again, Varys doesn't look like himself. That's crazy. Tyrion doesn't look, Varys doesn't look like himself. He doesn't talk like himself. He doesn't walk like himself. Like, he literally turns into another man. That's insane. Even his scent is different. Varys typically smells of lavender, and Tyrion is saying that he smells of sour wine and garlic. This is how he gets all his secrets. He's somehow able to change. Changes his body, he changes the way he looks. He's literally an entirely different person. But my question is can he do it for both genders, or is it just male? Because so far we've only seen him in male form and like changing into different forms of that. Varys is crazy. He said, some of your sister's hirelings are mine as well, unbeknownst to her. I should hate to think they had grown so sloppy as to be seen. Crazy. Interesting. So Cersei's spies know that Tyrion is here. But I mean, it's on brand for Tyrion. Interesting. We're hiding Tyrion right now. Also, I love that Varys said, men see what they expect to see. And he is like having Tyrion kind of disguised as a child right now. They're talking about Stannis and Stannis finding out the Joffrey secret. And Tyrion was like, did you tell him? And Varys was like, no. But why would I betray a secret I have kept for so long? So Varys was probably the first one to know, honestly. Damn. King Robert fathered 8 illegitimate children. That's crazy. And all 8 of them had black hair. Like, not a single one was different. They're trying to figure out who told Stannis. But y'all reminded me in the comments that Stannis was at court with Jon Arryn and then Stannis fled. So Stannis most likely already knew, which I had completely forgotten about. I don't know why I did. But Varys and Tyrion are thinking maybe Littlefinger snitched. Tyrion said, Lord Varys, sometimes I feel as though you are the best friend I have in King's Landing, and sometimes I feel like you are my worst enemy. Varys said, how odd, I think the same of you. Ugh, I love them. I love their conversations, and I love being in the book with them. And I think it's really fun seeing how, like, manipulative Tyrion is, especially like how deep his mindset goes. It's never just like, oh, let's do this. Like, he thinks about things so much, and he sees things that most people don't really notice. Like with the letter with Stannis, the first thing he notices is like basically that Stannis is king and that Stannis knows his secret, and then he's thinking about like, oh, who told Stannis? Meanwhile, everybody else is like freaking out about this rumor they can come up with. Like, he's just in a different realm than other people. And him and Varys are like working in these backgrounds right now, but they're like so hyper aware of who's watching them and where they are and what things look like. Like, there's no mistakes with these two. And I think it's so crafty and I love it. Hey y'all, let's read our book. I have a really cool picture again. I'm gonna show you guys all my pictures. Is this Bran? Wow. We're on to Bran. Poor Bran. He's having to be like Lord. He wants to go play with the other boys and have fun, but he has to like lock in. That's so sad. He said, why must he waste his days listening to old men speak of things he only half understood? Because you're broken, a voice inside him reminded him. Poor Bran. Interesting, the Manderleys are here. What do they want? That's so cute. Hodor is really with Bran like all the time. He helps him dress, he takes him places, like it's Hodor and Bran everywhere. Bran said, you could have been a knight too, I bet. If the gods hadn't taken your wits, you would have been a great knight. It's like these two men who could have been like great knights, and instead they're reduced to this life of court that they don't want. Oh, Hodor's so tall that Bran has to wear a little helmet because sometimes he hits his head, but he doesn't wear it because people laugh at him. Aww. This makes me so sad for him. He's looking at the knights and like the men training right now, and he said Bran wished he were one of them so badly that his stomach hurt with wanting. Not the Walders making little comments about Hodor. Bran's fighting with them. Damn. The little Frey boys are like so rude. They're even giving attitude to Maester Luwin. Prince Bran, that's crazy. Maester Luwin's defending Hodor, how cute. Damn. Everybody's so hard on Bran, it's like, he's just a child, you know? He's like in trouble for being out there, and like Maester Luwin's mad that he had to go find him, and it's like, Bran's so young. It's so sad that like so much responsibility has been put on him. The Lord of White Harbor seems nice. Bran was late and he said like he apologized for being late. And the Lord of White Harbor said, why, no prince is ever late. Those who arrive before him have come early, that's all. That's cute. Ooh. King Robb needs his own coinage? This is crazy. Lord Manderley is offering to build Robb a war fleet. And then we have Theon going over to Pike right now. And it makes my stomach turn. That's so sad. Like, that's such a great idea. Why didn't we propose this sooner? Lord Wyman? I think it's Lord Wyman. Tywin has one of his older sons captive in the Green Fork. And Tywin is like writing these men and being like, hey, you can have your son back for no money. You just have to pull back from Robb. That's crazy. Oh, it's Manderley. Sorry. He's at Harrenhal. His son. Lady Danella Hornwood. We're starting to see like some of these families losing a lot of people, like the Manderleys, Hornwood. Lady Hornwood just lost her husband. And like this conflict and this battle is really starting to like blend into these families a lot, which is a really cool element that I feel like wasn't in the show. Bolton's B-word is massing men at the Dreadfort. We're already talking about Ramsay? Ooh. That's crazy. Lady Hornwood is like talking about Ramsay, and she said, I hope he means to take them south to join his father at the Twins, but when I sent to ask his intent, he told me that no Bolton would be questioned by a woman. So Ramsay's already acting weird. So Bolton had another son, a legitimate son, named Domeric, and then he died. And then that's when people started talking about Ramsay. So literally nobody knows anything about Ramsay. What is this? They're talking about like what they know about Ramsay. And then he said like after Domeric died, that was when Bolton brought his illegitimate child to the Dreadfort. The boy is a sly creature by all accounts, and he has a servant who is almost as cruel as he is. Reek, they call the man. He already has a Reek? Is Theon gonna be Reek Part 2? Interesting. I've heard tales, things I can scarce believe even of a Bolton. Damn, poor Lady Hornwood. She said, now that my lord husband and my sweet son have gone to the gods, the illegitimate child looks at my lands hungrily. So, Ramsay's like a new character on the board, but people are hearing rumors about how effed up he is. That's interesting. So it's not really a secret how vile Ramsay is. It's interesting, this is the second time that Bran is kind of like in a ruling position, but he doesn't really like have the freedom to rule. Like he's mentioning that he really liked Manderly's idea of the ships and making like a bunch of warships for Robb, and he like really liked that idea, but Maester Luwin kind of like wrote him off. And then he wanted to give Lady Hornwood at least 100 men so that way she could defend her lands. And Sir Roderick is kind of like, you'll be fine. That's interesting. That's so sad. She just lost her husband and Sir Roderick is already like, maybe you should marry again. Manderly was the one saying he would be down to marry her. And then she's like, my noble cousin Manderly, my lord's bed is not large enough to hold one of his majesty, and I'm surely too small and frail to lie beneath him. Then Bran said, sleeping under Lord Manderly would be like sleeping under a fallen horse. I'm weak. We're roasting him right now. Ooh, she likes Sir Roderick. Okay, queen. Sir Roderick called her a danger to the peace of your brother's realm. Yikes. They're noticing that, like, if she doesn't remarry and because she has no heirs, like, that land is pretty much gonna get taken. Like, she's pretty much cooked. That sucks. Bran said, then let Lord Hornwood's illegitimate child be the heir, thinking of Jon. That's so sweet. I like Bran's, like, ruling style so far. He seems very kind, which probably isn't good in the Westeros realm, but I like it. That's interesting. It's not a bad plan, Bran. The only problem with that is Lady Hornwood would be upset because it's not her blood, technically. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I'd rather, you know, promote an illegitimate child than have other men come in and take my land. Not Osha swimming in the pool. Not Bran just, like, looking at a naked Osha. I think it's interesting that he noticed that her body is different from, like, noble women. Noble women have, like, softer bodies, and Osha's, like, hard and sharp and a lot of scars. That's a cool detail. Osha's killed a Night's Watchman? Osha said, it's a fool boy who mocks a giant in a mad world when a cripple has to defend him. That's so mean. So many people pick on Hodor. Bran's talking about how Hodor, like, never fights. Like, he never really, like, defends himself or raises a hand. Like, he just takes it. He has a gentle spirit. Osha said, in hands strong enough to twist a man's head off his shoulders if he takes a mind to. That'd be crazy. The Frey boys are icky. Sweet Osha, she said, you have more of them wolf dreams? She's always checking up on him. Bran said he didn't like to talk about the dreams. On this night, he dreamed of the weirwood. The weirwood. So looking at him, calling to him. Damn. The three-eyed crow came flapping, pecking at his face, and crying his name in a voice as sharp as swords. Ooh, Umbermen are here. Oh my gosh. A crow had once taken Moors for dead and pecked out his eye, so he wore a chunk of dragon glass in its stead. Old Nan told the tale that he had grabbed the crow in his fist and bitten off his head, so they named him Crow Food. What the hell? Then Bran said she would never tell Bran why his gaunt brother Hothor was called Horsebane. Probably not old enough, Bran. Ooh, Mors wants to wed Lady Hornwood. Mors said, I have a cure for grief under my furs. Okay, buddy. Ooh, interesting. Wildlings are crossing the Bay of Seals in little boats and washing up by the shore. There's not enough men in Eastwatch to really, stop them. The Umbers are so feisty. Oh, now we got the Glovers. It's a party over here. Interesting. Bran soon realized that it was the steward, not Lady Glover, who truly ruled at Deepwood Motte. Tea? What the hell is a hedge wizard? A hedge wizard had said that they would have a bountiful spirit summer? Interesting. Sir Roderick is asking questions about Lord Hornwood's illegitimate child. I think Bran's plan is sticking. Maester Luwin told him he'd be a good Lord of Winterfell. Bran said, no, I won't. Bran, you're actually really good at this. Oh, Jory's pretty interconnected to this family. So Jory is Sir Roderick's nephew. That's tea. Benfred Talhart has formed a group of men called the Wild Hares. That's fun. Bran wants to join them. Ooh. These are Torn Square people, so they're very eager to fight. And the son and this group, they keep running off and doing whatever they want to do. But who was it? Was it Sir Roderick? Somebody just reminded them to stay in Torrhen Square. That just makes me think of Theon. Damn, everybody wants Hornwood land right now. Bran saw pity in his pale blue eyes, mingled perhaps with a little gladness that the cripple was after all not his son. For a moment he hated the man. Poor Bran. It's nobody treats him like a normal person. He's just this broken person to everybody. Ooh, Maester Luwin likes the Baron Tallheart plan. So Tallheart wants to send Baron Tallheart, who's younger, to Hornwood, and then potentially he becomes heir because he's half Hornwood technically. Y'all are messy, and everybody wants Hornwood land. Sir Roderick doesn't like the plan because of the Boltons. Whoever y'all put as heir over there has to be able to defend themselves against the Boltons. And that's the kicker. They're talking about like, oh, Rob might have a different solution, like maybe some of the Lords of the Trident, which is so sick. I want to be a Lord of the Trident. Like a Blackwood or a Frey. And then Bran was like, Lady Hornwood can have one of our Freys. She can have both of them if she likes. They got a letter saying that the illegitimate child of the Dreadfort would not be joining them. That's a good thing. Bran said all of the principal vassals of House Stark had been heard from, save for Howland Reed, the Cronogman, hopefully I'm saying that right, who had not set foot outside of his swamps for many a year. The Reeds live in swamps? That's fun. Lord Kerwin is a captain of the Lannisters right now? That's crazy. His son showed up anyways, and he's friends with Bran. Damn. They're talking about the Cersei drama right now with Clay Kerwin, the son. That's insane. They said, the gods hate incest. Look how they brought down the Targaryens. Ooh. Bran's having like a little panic attack. I wonder if his memories are triggering that. His buried memories. Yikes. Bran's dreaming about the crow and it's saying fly or die and it's like pecking out both of his eyes and then his third eye. No, that's crazy. He's like still in his dream. He finally got his sight back. Then he's like hanging from a tower. And then a golden man appeared in the sky above him and pulled him up. The things I do for love. And tossed him out, kicking into empty air. No way. That's insane. Damn. So Bran's going through it. First of all, he's a really good leader. Like, at the end of the day, like, he has a natural instinct to rule. And we all know, like, he doesn't want to rule, but he has a natural instinct to it. And I think his suggestions and his ideas, not only are they great, but they're also very, like, in line with the lords of their house. It's going to make people happy. It's something that, like, fits well. So that's really interesting. And we see, like, especially Mr. Lewin, he kind of navigates around Bran, and I think it's because he sees, I mean, Bran is 8, like he doesn't really take Bran super seriously, but I kind of wish he did, because he's a very good ruler, like he has a natural instinct for it, and I just kind of wish Maester Luwin was a little more inclined to listen to Bran. And then we also still have Osha in the element, which is amazing because Osha is pretty much the only one that kind of like checks in on Bran when it comes to these like wolf dreams and kind of like the spiritual nature of Bran. And I think she's a really great character to have when Bran is going through this whole mess of growth and everything. And then he just keeps having these dreams. But I think he's finally like getting portions of what actually happened back, and he had this like whole panic attack finding out about like Cersei and Joffrey, and that definitely kind of like unlocked that dream that he just had. But he's so interesting. I love his chapters. They're so good. But that was a great chapter, y'all. Okay, y'all, let's read our book. I will say, it is taking me longer to get through this book, and I think I figured it out. So in Game of Thrones, towards the end, we started getting longer chapters, but this book has been longer chapters like every single one. I actually really like it because it adds so much context in one chapter, but I will say it's taken me a minute to get through it. So we might have to do like 3 parts of this on YouTube because almost every chapter so far has been like a 25-30 minute read, and then when I add commentary on top of it, it makes it like an hour. So it takes me a minute to get through a chapter, but they're really good. I really like how much context is in each one. But we are on to Tyrion, so let's do it. Grand Maester Pycelle. He said, I would sooner be up, though the world be dark, than lie restless abed fretting on tasks undone. Same. I'm such a night owl. His girl. Are we talking about I think this is a serving girl, but why is Tyrion calling this girl Maester Pycelle's girl, his girl? Weird. Maester Pycelle said, "In these sad times when so many hunger, I think it only fitting to keep my table spare." I will say, book Maester Pycelle versus show Maester Pycelle, he seems a little more like sneaky and crafty. Like he seems more like an innocent old man in the book than he did in the show. Like in the show, I was always sus of him. But in the book, when he's making comments like, "Oh, I don't eat because the people aren't eating," he's a little more snaky, it seems like. Tyrion said, "For the eyes of Doran Martell, Prince of Dorne." We're doing the Marcella plot thingy? Yikes. Tyrion said, "Do it now." Not to like glaze Tyrion, y'all, but every time I'm in a Tyrion chapter and in Tyrion's head, it's so fun to see what he observes and what he notices. Like right now, he's observing Grand Maester Pycelle's chain and like what he has on there, and he's talking about how there's gemstones and ornaments on it, and that it's like more gold and silver and platinum rather than other metals. And so he's just like noticing these small things where I feel like when we look at least me personally, when I look at a Grand Maester, I'm not like inspecting their chain. Like I'm just like, oh, they have a chain, like they're legit. But Tyrion notices everything, and that's crazy. Ooh, Maester Pycelle has a bunch of like vials and bottles and dried herbs. That sounds cool. Like, he's so crafty. He said, "Once you puzzled out the arrangement, it was easy to see that every potion had its place." I love it. Tyrion, what did we just steal? He said when he read the label, he smiled and slipped it up his sleeve. What is that? Interesting. There's a lot of talk of like food and the small folk not having as much food and them getting their food from Lord Giles and Lady Tanda. Tyrion knows that this is going to bring a lot of unrest in the small folk. Grand Maester Pycelle is so nosy. Wow. Cersei really has Grand Maester Pycelle wrapped around her finger. Grand Maester Pycelle said, "A most uncommon woman, and yet it is no small thing to tend to all the cares of the realm, despite the frailty of her sex." And then Tyrion thought, "Oh yes, she's a frail dove, just ask Eddard Stark." For real though, like, let's not play. Bronn is very different from show Bronn, and I like it. He's very, like, focused, it seems like. I could be wrong. Like, he definitely still has a personality and, you know, a joking side to him, but he's a lot more focused, where I felt like show Bronn was very, kind of like Tyrion, like, very distracted, especially by women. And then we have Bronn, like, looking at these guys training, I think it is, and he like won't even look at other women, and Tyrion's like, "Hey, there's really beautiful women right there," and he's like, "I'm working." That's crazy. A hedge knight. I know what that is. He's the best of them. Interesting. That's crazy. So Bronn like looks at other people as like, how do I defeat that person? It's never like, oh, okay, this is somebody who's in Joffrey's court, or this is somebody who does this. Like, it's always this like competition of like, okay, when they come for me, I know how to kill them. Which also leads to like a weird comment from Tyrion of like, he's pledged to Joffrey, he's not like to face you. But then that just makes me think that something's gonna happen there. I don't know. That's crazy. Ron said your pet was back. Tyrion groaned. Lady Tanda. Y'all wild for that one. Oh no, Lady Tanda's stalking him. Oh. So Lady Tanda's daughter is lawless, And if I remember correctly, in the show, Bronn gets engaged to Lawless, right? So that's interesting knowing that Lady Tanda wants Tyrion to marry Lawless. Weird. Ooh. There's a moneylender from Bravos holding fancy papers, requests to see the king about payment on some loan. That's interesting. Their debt problems are like already cropping up. Uh-oh. We're talking about like this river lord that came all the way here because sounds like the mountain is causing a lot of problems for him, and Tyrion's like really going out of his way to make this river lord happy. And he said, whether truly loyal or merely desperate, a compliant river lord might have his uses. He's so calculated. I love it. Oh, that's crazy. Bronn said they want protection. Last night a baker was roasted in his own oven. What the hell? Oh, it's getting bad in the streets. Tyrion said they didn't eat him, did they? Nah, y'all need to step in. I mean, at the same time, like, what are they gonna do? It's kind of like the House of the Dragon situation. Like, there's war. There's nothing they can really do about it. Alistair's here. And Bronn's like, oh, some guy from the wall brought a rotted hand in a jar. And Tyrion said, I'm surprised no one ate it. That's crazy. Oh, Tyrion didn't like Sir Alistair. Same, king. Find him a snug cell where no one has changed the rushes in a year. Tyrion. I wondered what happened with Sir Alistair when he went to King's Landing. Hey, Cersei. The way characters are like described, like their outfits, the way they hold themselves, it's so good. Especially Cersei. Tyrion just described her as like a goddess in green, and her crown was gold, her cloak ermine, her retinue sat their mounts behind her, and she's like towering above him on a white horse. Like, that sounds insane. Cersei said, I'm making a round of the gates to inspect the new scorpions and spitfires. I would not have it thought that all of us are as indifferent to the city's defense as you seem to be. Cersei's working? I know we've always talked about, like, oh, Cersei works a lot, she works a lot, but I've never actually seen her work in the show. Renly's taking his sweet time. Yikes. So Renly has pretty much everybody except for the red wines. And the only reason they don't have the red wines is because Cersei has the two boys captive. Damn. Tyrion knows exactly what he's doing. He said, I would do as much as he's doing. Make my progress, flaunt my power for the realm to see. Watch and wait. That's crazy. So Renly's not just like being dumb and just like having parties and talking to a bunch of people. Like, he's strategic. He's pulling a Tywin Lannister Mad King era where he's waiting to see what's going to happen, and then he's going to come in and pick up the pieces afterwards. That's genius. I mean, I guess the Tyrells are kind of doing the same thing too. I don't know, we haven't really gotten a Tyrell perspective, but the Tyrells are siding with Renly, but when Renly passes, they kind of do the same thing, where they pick the side that's winning. Y'all are sneaky. There's no loyalty here. Cersei said, I want you to make Father bring his army to King's Landing. She's real worried about Renly. Oh, bye, Cersei. Cersei is like so stressed about Renly, and then we have Tyrion who's stressed about Stannis, and he feels like Stannis is the actual problem. And I agree with Tyrion. Oh, that's crazy. So they don't really know what's happening in Dragonstone. It's kind of like its own little secret over there. And like nobody's really able to figure out like what Stannis is doing. He's just burning things, guys. god. Littlefinger's here. Is Pot scared of Tyrion? That's why he won't look at him? Littlefinger is so cocky. I love it. He's just like chilling in Tyrion's room. He's wearing a plush plum-colored doublet and a yellow satin cape. Bougie? But like purple and yellow? Royalty and insanity? It fits. What is Joffrey doing? Joffrey's literally like a child. Like he's trying to shoot hares right now and he just keeps missing and he's like crashing out. He almost hit Sir Preston. Littlefinger's crazy for that comment. He's telling Pod to like invest in hares because soon they'll be overrunning the castle. I'm weak. I love being in Tyrion's head. He kind of respects Varys, but Littlefinger is like a no-no for him. Like he does not trust this man. And he said he's thinking, "Have no fear, my lord. It's not the wall I have in mind for you." What does he have in mind for Littlefinger? Littlefinger brought the knife as well? Nah, he's playing. He's playing games. I like that line. Tyrion thought, if ever truly a man had armored himself in gold, it was Peter Baelish, not Jaime Lannister. Oh. Oh, I finally get to learn the lore on Littlefinger. This is fun. Oh, that's crazy. So he distinguished himself by bringing in 3 times as much as any of the king's other collectors. That's insane. Within 3 years of him coming to court, he was Master of Coin and a member of the Small Council. That's crazy. Littlefinger's like a mastermind. So he like gets into this position super quickly, is able to come up with all of this money and gold with like promises, relationships, you know, whatever. And then he takes all of this money and gold and he puts it into like other things. Tyrion's saying he bought wagons, shops, ships, houses, grain, and then like put men in that place as well. So now he has like money coming in from everywhere and men everywhere. The keepers of the keys were his, all 4. Littlefinger is literally playing chess. Like it's insane. And he has put all of his pieces everywhere on the board without people noticing. That's crazy. Tax farmers, wool factors, toll collectors, 9 out of every 10 belonged to Littlefinger. This man is insane. I need a lesson from Littlefinger. Littlefinger, come sit down. Come teach me your ways. This man is going to own the world. That's crazy. Tyrion said, and yet of such undistinguished birth, 1 step up from a hedge knight. Insane. Tyrion's smart. He said, but do I dare touch him? He's talking about how Littlefinger is like, seems innocent. Like he seems like such a nice, friendly man. And like he doesn't really have any armies to call or any banners to call. But like, he's obviously dangerous. Tyrion just asked him about the Tullys and River Run. And he said like, how close did you get to the girls? Littlefinger said, I had their maidenhoods. Is that close enough? And then Tyrion automatically branded it as a lie. But y'all, we just had a conversation with, what was it, last book, Kat and Liza, where they both were acting super weird when they had talked about Littlefinger in their past. And I think it was this book because Kat was thinking of like a kiss that she had shared with Littlefinger. And she had like phrased it really weird and she was like kind of hiding it, it seemed like. And I thought that there was more to that. And then now he just like comes out and says like, oh, I had both their maidenhoods. Why do I believe it? Why do I believe that? Nah, y'all are playing. Ooh, Tyrion wants him to go to Lysa. Damn, Tyrion's bold. So he wants Littlefinger to go convince Lysa to basically like join the Lannister side. And to seal the bargain, I will give her my niece. He just offered him Harrenhal. Ooh, that's a good point. Not only does he get Harrenhal, which is like such a big standing, such a big castle, but it also like dwarfs Riverrun, where he has been kind of like burned. Tyrion's crazy. He said Littlefinger took a moment to adjust the drapes of his cape, but Tyrion had seen the flash of hunger in those sly cat's eyes. I have him. That's crazy. I love Tyrion. Littlefinger's wary. It's too good of an offer. Oh, Tyrion. Varys said, "You're a cruel man to make the Grand Maester squirm so much. The man cannot abide a secret." I love this little, like, friendship, court relationship thing between Varys and Littlefinger. Ooh, that's tea. So Varys is telling us that the Dornishman Doran has called his banners, but he's not doing anything with them. And it's suspected that he would join Lord Renly's side. So when he's making this proposal, he's thinking of the war. Tyrion's crazy because it's not like he's not thinking of one thing. He has like 20 different plans with something in his mind. Like every time he does something, there's like multiple intentions behind it. Damn. Tyrion said, "My father once told me that a lord never lets sentiment get in the way of ambition." The Dornish might be different. Y'all did them dirty. Damn. Tyrion's offering a lot. So far, Tyrion has offered Dorne a seat on the small council and then also the mountain, it seems like. And then Varys is like, "Oh, you would give up your father's sworn man?" And Tyrion said, "My father would be the first to tell you that 50,000 Dornishmen are worth one rabid dog." And trust me, I don't like the mountain in any way, shape, or form, but knowing a little bit of the history on like the mountain, the Hound, their family, the Lannisters, to know that they would give up on the mountain or like sentence him to his death basically so quickly just so they could get what they want is like crazy to me. Like once again, people are so indisposable to these higher up like lords. Oh, and then our big plan is like if they try to come for Tywin, it was on King Robert. It was his war. Oh, I don't know if Tyrion is actually planning on doing this, if this is a twist in the story, or if this is just him lying to Varys. But he's talking about sending Tommen to Dorne. And I think this might just be a twist in his plans that he's telling Varys in case Varys snitches. But are we sending Tommen or are we sending Marcella? Aw, he said Prince Tommen is a good boy. Damn. Tyrion said if I get him away from Cersei, he might stay a good boy. Oh, nah, y'all are crafty. Varys said, "And a good king?" Tyrion said, "Joffrey is king." Varys said, "Tommen is heir. Should anything ill befall his grace." Y'all are crazy. That's crazy. Varys is like, "You're playing a crazy game with Cersei right now." And Tyrion's like, "As long as you don't snitch, I'll be fine." That's wild. We're on to Sansa. I'm so excited. "Come to the Godswood tonight if you want to go home." Who is that from? It's a trap. Don't do it. Oh, poor Sansa. She crushed the parchment to her chest and whispered the words to herself. Damn. This is like a really bad spot for her to be in because if this is a trap, she's cooked. And she's like thinking if she should take it to the queen, if she should like follow through on it, like what should she do? Oh my gosh. Every time we're with Sansa, she's bruised. This is so sad. She's talking about the last time Sir Meryn hit her, and she said, "It's her own fault. She must learn to hide her feelings better." She got that hit because she said, I hope the others get him about Lord Slint. I'm weak. I don't know who this note is from, but I don't trust it. Oh no. She's thinking if she went to the Godswood, would she find Sir Ilan Payne waiting for her, sitting silently under the heart tree with ice in his hand. Poor Sansa. Ooh, that's crazy. She's getting used to the, southern climate. She's been here so long. She's telling her, handmaiden that she wants a fire and she's feeling kind of cold. And she said she was shivering though the day had been hot. Our Winterfell girl is no longer a Winterfell girl. That's insane. The queen had her servants changed every fortnight to make certain none of them befriended her. Damn. Oh, Sansa's paranoid. She thinks she's gonna go snitch on her. Poor Sansa. She said she missed Septa Mordane. She missed Jane Poole. Oh, that's crazy. Nobody even talks about Jane Poole. She said once in a while Sansa even missed her sister. Uh-oh, what's going on? There's shouting, horses riding. Okay, smart Sansa. She's gonna go out there. She's taking a knife with her. Damn. She said, if it is some trap, better that I die than let them hurt me more. Sansa's my girl, y'all. The more I get Sansa, the more I'm I adore her. She's one of my favorite characters. What's going on? Why are all the men putting all their armor on? Joffrey? Joffrey's putting armor on? Aww. Sansa's secretly moving through the castle and she stops for a second. And then the black kitty is there. What's up with this cat? Aww. She makes it out to the Godswood and she thinks, Lady would have liked this place. Sansa, don't make me cry right now, please. Ooh, this makes me think of Rickon. She said there's something wild about a Godswood. Oh, interesting. Sansa prefers the Seven over the old gods. Yet she could not deny that the Godswood had a certain power too, especially by night. That's awesome. At Sardontos, we are moving so quick in this book, it throws me for a loop. Because the whole Sardontos stuff this didn't happen till what, season 3, season 4? Oh my gosh. Sardonto said if they catch me, they'll strip the skin off of my back. Sansa thought, what will they do to me? Damn, she still blames Arya for Lady. Oh, Cersei doesn't, and Sansa doesn't trust anybody. That is interesting. She was praying to the old gods to send a knight to help her, and then Sardontos pops up. Ooh. The singers say there was another fool once who was the greatest knight of all. Florian, Sansa whispered. That makes me think of Knight of Seven Kingdoms. No, this is crazy. Sardontos said, I would be your Florian. Aww. Sardontos is saying how much he liked Ned and that he didn't do anything when Ned was getting killed. But then when it was his turn, Sansa stepped up for him. That's crazy. He put his hand on the heart tree and said, I vow with your father's gods as witness that I shall send you home. Sansa said he swore a solemn oath before the gods. That's crazy. So does this still have Littlefinger behind it? It's so easy to get fooled when I'm reading. The hardest thing too is like this author is so convincing. Like he's really good at writing deception, and it just makes my head spin. That's fair. I'm happy he's warning her of that. He said, if I should seem cruel or mocking or indifferent when men are watching, forgive me. I have a role to play and you must do the same. Very smart. Damn, that's crazy. So he's making a whole mission to get Sansa out. This just makes my head spin because I'm like, okay, so when is Joffrey dying? Does she still get out when Joffrey dies? Is it different than that? Like, this is making my head spin. It's so different. Because if she still gets out when Joffrey dies, and I'm assuming, does Joffrey die in this book or does he die in the next book? I'm assuming maybe next book. Then that means her and Ser Dantos were planning to get her out for like a long time. She softly laid a kiss on his cheek and said, my Florian, the gods heard my prayer. Ser Dantos, you better not let us down. I'm gonna crash out. I'm just worried that Ser Dantos is only doing this because Littlefinger told him to do it and Littlefinger is behind this because that's how it was in the show, wasn't it? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, does he actually mean this, or is this coming from Littlefinger, or can we trust him? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm in Sansa's head right now. Like, I can't trust anybody. Like, that just was like too easy. It was too nice. Oh, who did we just run into? Is it the Hound? Uh-oh. He doesn't believe that she was praying. Is he drunk? The Hound is very drunk right now. I really hope I'm wrong about this, but he seems like a little too interested in Sansa. He just made a comment about how she like looks like a woman now, and he's like, you like knights, don't you? Like, sing me a song. And I feel like a part of this is not protectiveness, but it's like attraction, and that makes me feel weird. I hope I'm wrong. Damn. Sansa said Sir Boros was the worst of the King's Guard. The Hound said, F you, Sir Boros. Oh, so all that drama earlier was people at the gates? The irony that... What was this? Is it Tytos? I'm pretty sure it's Tytos. The irony that Tytos almost got killed by his own sigil is hilarious. And then the Hound's family is the one that saved him. Interesting. He said, a hound will die for you but never lie to you, and he'll look you straight in the face. Bar. Florian and Junkiel. Damn. The Hound said, pretty thing and such a bad liar. A dog can smell a lie, you know. Look around and take a good whiff. They're all liars here, and everyone's better than you. I still love the Hound, okay? I still really love the Hound, but Drunk the Hound and Sansa gives me a really weird vibe, and I really don't like it because it's like, I don't know, it's weird, and I really hope I'm reading too much into it because a part of me is like, okay, am I reading too much into this, or is there like attraction here from the Hound? But I mean, as long as he doesn't overstep, it's fine, I guess. I don't know, it's weird because Sansa's so young, and then we have the Hound who's probably like, what, Jorah's age? So it's just like another foil over to Dany and Jorah where we're like, I don't know. That was a really good chapter though. I really love being in Sansa's head, especially while she's like going through all of this mess. It makes me like her even more because even in the show, like I loved her during this because she really like locked in and she really like tried to protect herself and tried to play it smart. But in the book, it's like she's so in her head and everything she questions, everything is a trap. Like she doesn't know what to trust, who to trust. And it just makes my heart break for her. I'm like, poor Sansa. But those were great chapters. That's all I've got for this week. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.